everybody. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Start Podcast with another episode of Mission Start. This is episode 19. Man, we're getting more numbers in here. With me today, I have Kris from our website, our reviewer and whatnot.
Hello, everybody. How you doing this fine evening?
I
Oh,
believe
wait, that's right. You can't respond.
I believe majority of the country is right now sad because they didn't win the lotto. And then
Sad face forever, man.
and then with us from the overtime is Gregg Dietz.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to talk about, of course, what you've been up to in the first segment, and then in the second segment we're going to be talking about the possibilities of the rumors of the next PlayStation console will have a ability or some sort of mechanism in the console where you can't play used games. And this is a rumor, but we're going to talk about it. And also, we're going to discuss something that EA did this past week, or even last week, is they shut down servers for some of their games that they held in their library for a while. And this brings up a good question: is whether this would really be something other companies might look into to possibly do the same thing as EA did, or is it something that it might be just be a blip and it will pass on, nobody will do this again? But we will discuss it in a little bit. So, how have you guys been doing?
I've been pretty good. I've gotten super freaking busy lately, though.
I hear you.
I just got 2 jobs. I now barely have any time to get back to my gaming, which I miss so much right now.
Whoa. But you have 2 jobs though. I mean, like you're getting money.
Is there a chance I can have one of those jobs?
I know, seriously.
Well, maybe I can put in a good word at one of the places, but it's just I got the jobs in order to make the money so that way I could play the games.
It's a vicious cycle, man.
Yeah,
it is.
You know what's funny? It's like it reminds me of like one of the old well, it was like the infamous ending to one of the Twilight Zone episodes, and the guy is like alone in the entire world, and he's like walking around, it's like all these books, he's all excited, and then he tried to read one and his glasses broke, and it's like, it's not fair. I had so much time. I had so much time.
So, and then, of course, they parody that in Futurama. It's like, oh, well, at least I can reach the large print books. Oh, and then his eyes fall out. And it's like, oh, well, at least I know how to read Braille. And his hands fall out.
Oh, man.
There's so many good ones, but go on before Kris.
But yeah, I got those 2 jobs, so, my schedule has effectively been nerfed. I am hoping that with this week of spring break that I do have, I'm going to finally complete my review on Skyward Sword. And I do have a few other reviews in queue. And just recently, with a new segment added to the websites, our Guilty Pleasures section, I now actually have content to moderate on that. So, I mean, while I will still be relatively busy, at least I have some time to get to writing now. And with the recent dropping of my calculus class, which started to weigh down a little too much on me, I now actually have some more time to get back to that. So, at least our readers can expect to see, more regular content from me on the site.
It's actually, I can what's what I'm looking for? Damn, I'm lost of words. But I can relate to you as far as like dropping that calculus class, because like math in general is hard as hell.
I had a resounding 33.4%.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit is insane. Like it's when you finally drop it, or you're finally finished the math class, it's like, the whole like weight has been lifted off your shoulders, and I know that feeling. I know that feeling all too well.
And before I dropped, I actually went into a sort of stress shock, or like a stress crash, if you would. And it had gotten so bad that I literally spent a good 16 hours just consistently studying for one test, and it got so bad that I was actually stressing myself out so much that my entire body just went into pain. And then afterwards, the week afterwards, I get my test back and see, oh, I got a 30% on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what all my work just amounted to.
Yeah.
Where's my, fifth of Jack right now?
Yes.
Alcohol solves all
It was just
problems.
terrible.
Yeah.
It was just terabad.
That
Yes, I did just say terabad, not terrible, terabad.
Yes. But you're with us right now, and you are relaxing in your chair with a Gatorade or two, just kind of chilling, talking about whatever.
For
Gatorade.
once. Jesus Christ.
um. So what was that? Is what else have you been up to, Kris?
Other than that, I have decided that, now that I have a more steady income, I'm looking at increasing my own gaming library. I just recently got myself the collector's edition of Mass Effect 3
Fuck yes.
because one guy, after a week after the game came out, still didn't go and pick up his copy. And I kept popping into that GameStop like every other day. I was like, did someone drop one yet? How about now? Maybe now? How about now? Any news yet? And eventually it just got to the point where, they were like, dude, are you even going to come into the store and pick it up? And it's like, oh, sure, I'll go ahead and pick it up tonight. He never showed.
Huh. Funny.
So, yeah, I was able to get my hands on that, and as a product of which I'm not really sure whether or not I can consider it saving, since $10 from the collector's edition was the From Ashes DLC pack that they included. And it was only after about 20 hours into the game that I realized there was another achievement in there which I missed. So I had to start up a new save file and start over just to get that. For those people who have yet to download the From Ashes DLC, or if they have and have yet to take up the mission Priority Eden Prime, be on a very close lookout through each of the buildings that you can possibly go into in that area. There are a set of terminals that you need to look around in, and there will be a grand total of three terminals that you need to look into in order to get the full achievement for that, and to provide additional war assets for those playing. That way, you can actually gain something from going to Eden Prime other than the Prothean, and what was it? An additional weapon and a costume pack.
Very nice. And
So figure, just trying to give some sort of helpful hints, because after you complete that quest, you can never go back to Eden Prime.
I hear you. I hear you. And the cool thing is like, well, I haven't played it yet, but actually, what's funny is like not because like every other game podcast has already done this or about to, but like I really want to do a like Mass Effect 3 spoiler cast where it's just us talking about Mass Effect 3 the entire time. We can go in depth.
Okay, but as for endings, I know how they go, but I've only gotten maybe a third into the game.
Right.
So I mean, there's like, if we are going to do something like that, I think it should be established that there's a very fine line that needs to be walked.
I guess, but then again, it is described as a spoiler cast, so everything goes. But it won't be for a while though, because I still haven't played the game yet.
Oh, well, in that case, I mean, sure, but there are still people who have yet to, actually go and, pick up their own copy of the game. So,
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, just
As I'm saying, it's gonna be a while because like right now, of course, I've been busy schoolwork and making costumes for Fanime and Anime Expo, but I've been like game wise,
I can actually help you out with some of those if you'd like.
uh,
I
uh,
do have that. Well, the cosplay page that I made isn't exactly doing as well as intended, but taking Sean's advice, which I to this day still thank him for, is making the friendable account of Kaz cosplay, I still have an open invitation that anyone who has cosplay questions, I'll do what I can to try and help you out.
Oh, I mean, well, yeah, yeah, I'll definitely talk to you and let you know. But yes.
But I mean, the offer is, of course, extended to everyone and anyone.
Mm-hmm.
As
Indeed.
long as there's some way of cutting costs or maybe making something even sturdier than what it could be. I mean, suggestions are always open. And, if I happen to be wrong about something, I'd be more than happy to hear any sort of feedback that comes from it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Gregg.
Hi.
What? Yeah. Hello there. I've noticed you've been pretty quiet. I wasn't sure.
Sorry about that, man.
I wasn't sure if you're
No,
there or not.
it's funny. It's really funny you mentioned that because I do a lot of other podcasts where I have to listen. Like, we try to do a lot of interaction between the people that are talking or whatever, and the problem is that especially over Skype, it's really hard to kind of point counterpoint situations because as soon as somebody else starts talking, some of the audio starts kind of like sounding a little weird.
Yeah.
So like usually when we're on Skype, I try not to over talk anybody, or I'll try to make a quick joke, like a quick little boop there, real quick. So
Yeah, I getcha.
um, but I haven't really been up to a ton since we last talked. And that's mainly because there's been nothing that I've been like aching to play or watch or whatever. Like Wrath of the Titans is the only thing in the theaters that I'm even remotely interested in seeing, and I'm not going to pay to see that. So, um, I will say this, that on Monday, I have a pre-screening pass for American Revolution, or not American, Jesus, American Reunion. I almost said American Revolution. But I did download today, actually about 5 hours ago, the new South Park game.
Oh,
Uh,
I've heard awful lot about that. Haven't really checked into it, but yeah.
What, the MMO that they came out with like a while back, or
no,
at
no, no, no.
least talk of it?
No, this one's a Xbox 360 exclusive, and it's called Tenderman's Revenge, and the idea of it is the
Oh
boys.
God, Scott Tenorman.
Um, what
He
the
turned his
game,
parents into chili.
what the game actually is a side scroller, a very simple, basic side scroller where you have to dodge enemies, jump on their heads, or shoot them with things. You pick up various weapons throughout the game, and each of the four kids that you play or that you get to play as have different abilities. So Cartman has this thing called the belly bash, where he can take down walls with his gut. Um, Stan has a football that he can throw, and it just knocks enemies on their ass and stops them. Stan, no, sorry, that's Stan. Kyle, because Tennerman's a ginger, all of he's built basically a ginger robot army. And it's really funny because all of a sudden the kids will pop down. They just look like ginger kids, and there's a bunch of different different versions of how they look. But if you
Are they
jump
the
on their,
daywalkers, or are they like the
they're,
full-on, like basically albino with orange hair gingers?
they're daywalker ones. I mean they're like, remember when Cartman he woke up ginger one morning and then he started that whole ginger group or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like all the kids in that group, that's what they look like in the
Oh.
game.
Oh, okay. So they were the ones that like need the umbrella. So they're
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe not daywalker, but it's definitely
because
like
the daywalkers ones have the more quote unquote normal skin hue.
right, right. Um, well, because if you remember, Kyle is a ginger.
Yes, with a
Like
huge
he's
Jufro.
right. So his ability is called Daywalker ability, which he is able to walk through ginger force fields. And then Kenny can just jump really high. For some reason, that's his ability. Oh, let's make him jump really high. But what's really cool is throughout the game, you'll see these little icons where it gives them special abilities. So Cartman becomes the coon, and he can like not wall crawl, but basically ninja his way up a wall. So he can leech onto it and then and then jump off, and then jump back on it at a higher point or whatever.
So basically, he turns into Ryu from Ninja Gaiden.
Precisely.
Ha.
And
Mission.
That's awesome.
that's really his only ability. I mean, I tried hitting an enemy head on, and it just knocked him down. I still had to jump on their head. Um, Kenny becomes Mysterion, and I don't know if you've seen one of the like. I don't know if it was this recent. No, it was obviously last season, but I don't remember.
No, I
when
think
the
it was like
episode-
2, maybe 3 seasons ago. Like when they covered Mysterion and, you know, being basically the same thing as Cthulhu.
Was it that episode? Because it was the episode where they basically they said that his special power is he can't die.
Yep.
So
it was
if
in
you-
that whole arc, and then, remember Captain Hindsight in that? It's like his
Yes.
one superpower is to see things with perfect 20/20 hindsight.
That's so funny. But his ability is that if he dies while you're playing, you can press Y and you basically turn into like a flashy version that you can like walk through whatever killed you and then survive. Or something to that effect. I haven't honestly like because I've only been the cool thing about the game is that you're able to play with 3 other people. So you can have
that's good. I mean, you can at least utilize multiplayer then.
yeah, and they have it online. You can actually like just start up a match and then get 3 randoms in there and start playing. So then Stan's is Tool Shed, and his ability I'm really confused with what his ability is because I grabbed it one time, but I didn't really see what it could do. From what I've gathered is that he's able to use it like a jackhammer to break down into pieces that are below where they are. And then Kyle's is the kite or the human kite, which is really close to being racist.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did use that line in that particular episode of South Park.
It's true. But he's able to glide from like location to location. So where there's like unreachable stuff normally by just jumping, he can make it.
Awesome.
So basically, he's like Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. Or actually, no, not Tails. More like Knuckles.
Um,
Because Knuckles could glide.
Yeah.
Tails was the one that could actually, move vertically through his, gliding pattern.
Yeah, exact same idea of gliding from point A to point B because he needed a, whatever. It's same idea.
Cool.
The thing is the abilities only last for a little while and the music gets really like superhero-y, which is funny to me.
Awesome.
And there's of course cameos from everything. I mean, Mr. Hanky showed up. As a matter of fact, there's hidden doors in every stage, and I say stage in the regards that like not every level has a secret door, but like the first 3 levels of the game took place in the future, and then the next 3 were in the sewers of South Park, and then the next 3 were in PP's
in his water park.
Water park. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
So like it's like segments of 3. So like I call the 3 levels stages. So in each stage there's a hidden Mr. Hanky door, and you have to find the poo key to get into that door.
What?
Nice.
Anthony, don't you remember? Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo. He loves me and I love him.
Yes. It is awesome.
But my only issue with the game, because the gameplay is really good. I really enjoy how it's, a classic side-scrolling game. It doesn't try to be something that it's not. It's very simple and basic in its form. There's a couple puzzles here and there, but they're not too difficult to figure out. They do say very clearly that like it's best to play with multiple people, only because there are things you can't reach with just one of the kids, and if you play by yourself, you can only choose one of the 4. So, like right now, the next level I'm supposed to go to, I can't go to. I have to play one of the previous levels because you have to find these like power conduits or something like that, and because Scott Tenorman's traveling through time, and you have to keep chasing him through time. And in order to keep chasing him, you have to get the power conduits to open up the portals. And right now, the next level needs 17. I only have 16.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Which would be my only real like, and it's a gripe only in the regards that like it kind of slows down the gameplay. Oh, I have to go play another level again
Mm,
just to get up, the conduit to unlock the next level.
right.
Um, but other
But
than
the
that,
thing is
it's
that like if you had the means by which to go and get that ahead of time, then it doesn't really hamper your overall gameplay, now does it?
well, I can get the ones because there's a lot like I'm not necessarily a completionist, but I definitely make sure that I'm looking in every single corner that I possibly can. And I only say that because sometimes it counts, sometimes it works, and there are situations in the game where your extra lives do matter greatly, because some levels will just be brutal. The first like big boss you come up to is pretty difficult. Like I did not beat it the first round. I had because I had to figure out how to beat him, and that's another great thing is you remember back in the day when you play a side scroller and the boss would come out and it would have a pattern, but you had to figure out the pattern to beat it. So you have to like
And not only
you
that, but the pattern wasn't necessarily pronounced with some of them. I mean, like, it's like, I'm going to go ahead and attack from the left, then the right, then I'm going to do a spin attack or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like that. It was a almost like long, drawn out, like calculated pattern.
right, and whenever the bad guy would strike, he always had like a call that you could see to know when to dodge, how to dodge, stuff like that. So I didn't know that when going into the battle. So I actually lost all of my lives in the first battle because it was very complicated. And I only say that because it took me because I had 6 lives and it took me about 4 of them to finally figure out the call and the pattern and all that kind of stuff. And then the last 2 were just me fucking up and not figuring out exactly what I had to do.
And I can
Um,
totally relate. Like in Skyward Sword, when I was fighting against Demise, whew, let's see, how many times in a row did I die before I decided to not throw my Wiimote at the TV and keep playing?
um,
8 times. Took me 8 times of dying just that way I could figure out what the hell to do because I was too stubborn to look at a guide. And
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
well, all I was gonna say was that then afterwards I figured, okay, so I can do this to help protect myself from this, but this if I don't meet it with this particular safety mechanism on my part, then it could severely impact me. And yada yada yada.
Yeah, it is the classic with the South Park game. It is the classic uh 2D boss figure out like the patterns and whatnot to defeat me, and because he's gonna be just doing the same shit over and over again.
yeah,
It's the same stuff that we used to play back in the day.
and they don't do what a lot of newer 3D games do, which is and when the 3D games do this, it doesn't really bother me because it's fine. It kind of needs to be done. Sometimes I need to know what buttons I need to press to do an attack or something.
Hmm.
But it doesn't tell you how to jump. It doesn't tell you what buttons to press to do the attacks. There's actually these little like screens that you can come up to and press Y, and those will tell you, but you don't have to press them. It's not mandatory. So I thought that was cool. So it's a nice way. To me, it's no different than hitting those little fucking boxes in Super Mario World. It's like most kids pass those up, but if you didn't, you got a little bit of a tip on how to take care of something or whatever.
Right.
Um, but my only like other than the I had a gripe a second ago, but now I don't remember what it was. But my one thing I will say negatively about it is that um, the dialogue seems a bit phoned in. Like
Like
I
how
can't.
what most people could say about the Kid Icarus Uprising game, which I'm going to go pick up my copy tomorrow. I plan on getting it today, but certain complications sort of prevented me from doing that.
Hmm.
Well,
But from what I gathered, like the dialogue is, as you had mentioned with the South Park game, relatively on the cheesy side, and seems so scripted.
it's incredibly scripted. It almost seems like that Matt and Trey or whoever was involved in doing the game. And I'm assuming that Matt and Trey did the dialogue for the characters because they do. I mean, 90% of the characters in the show. But uh, it almost seems like that they're just kind of saying the lines really quick to get the fuck out of the studio.
Gotcha.
And there's a few lines that pop up occasionally, like when one of the kids, oh my god, or holy shit, or what the fuck is that? It obviously, I can tell that it wasn't from that dialogue session, just because when one of the characters is supposed to be angry, but he's sounding like he's just a little. I'm like, what
Or
the
he's
fuck is that?
constipated.
Right. I'd say the funniest fucking part of it is the very, very beginning. There's a you guys remember the episode where Carmen goes in the future, or he gets frozen and goes to the future trying to get a Wii?
Oh yeah.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
ends up going back in time and is like 2 months further back in time than he wanted.
Yeah. The what's really funny about that is oh my god, remember the two factions of atheists that were fighting each other?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I thought it was 3. The United Atheist Alliance, the Allied Atheist Alliance, and it was like like they all had the same basic, name.
Yeah. Well, because the episode was basically a joke that when atheists sit there and say that there would never be war or something like that if Christianity wouldn't exist, are just lying to themselves, because humans will find a way to fight over something.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the sea otters.
Right. Well, the sea otters are the one, or like an older sea otter is reading a book about how awesome and cool Eric Cartman is to his kids, and which was, oh my god, so funny, because it almost was like Eric wrote this book to make himself sound cooler, and they just happened to find the book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fun game. It's good. I mean, the callbacks to the episodes and stuff was kind of expected. I mean, I know that they're not gonna write a story to a game that, if people like who are really close fans of this show and want to make sure that they don't miss an episode because they know there's going to be like some kind of reference to something that happened before. It's like, if you've never seen an episode with Mr. Tiddlywinks, or I think it's just his name is Tiddlywinks, you're not going to get a reference when all of a sudden they make a callback to it.
Right.
So for the video game, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna make anything that's gonna be outstandingly obvious.
Okay. Cool.
That makes a pretty good deal of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I? I was gonna ask.
Got a frog in your throat there?
Yeah, seems like it. I'm coming with the frog here. Greg, I wanted to ask. How much is it on Xbox Live, or is it a?
That's $10, and it's pretty long. I played a good chunk of it today. From what I understand, there's 21 levels. I think I beat 9 of them. So, and now I have to go back and play another level to try to figure out what I missed or where I missed it at.
And just remember, how long, like hour-wise, have you been playing into it? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, I put at least 3 hours into it.
Okay, that's cool.
3 hours, 9 levels. You know what? That actually sounds relatively fair.
Yeah, I mean, there's
for
games
a
you can buy
marketplace game like that. I'd say that price is really fair for it.
Yeah, I mean, because there's games you can buy right now for $60 that are less worthy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was laughing because a friend of mine, he's really into the Resident Evil series and loves the Ninja Gaiden games.
Oh man.
And so he
don't tell me you bought him on the marketplace.
No. He rented Resident Evil because he had heard some negative things about it, but he bought Ninja Gaiden 3, and he's pissed.
Yep.
He's like, both games are fucking atrocious, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. When I saw those reviews come out, because like I played the first Ninja Gaiden, and that was like hard as balls, and I still love the game though. It was pretty solid. 2 I didn't really care for, and like I was hoping maybe 3 would be able to come back, but no, it was a piece of crap.
Okay, so like for 1 and 2, are you equating that to Sigma and then its later release as well, like on the PlayStation?
I'm just talking about Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden 2. I'm not talking about the Sigma in the
Yeah, because I mean Sigma, all that was a PlayStation release of the first one that came onto the.
But it was a real cool HD remake though. So
Yeah, no, I'm just like kind of getting an idea for which Ninja
oh
Gaiden one
yeah.
you're talking about, since there were. I mean, there's the one. What was it for the NES or the SNES?
Oh, you're going with that back? Oh man, that's like I think it was for the NES. Ninja Gaiden 1, like the original.
Yeah, the one that was just Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
But no, it's like when I thought one, I was like, wow, we're really going retro on this. Okay.
Nah, man, I'm talking about like the last several
Like within
games.
the
But yeah.
2000 era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, honestly, I like Ninja Gaiden 2. I'm almost halfway through it because it just I'm on normal and it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
I can't get past the fact of just how mind-numbingly hard it is, and how hard it is just to kind of keep my calm about the whole thing. And
Yeah.
a very well-made game, I will say that. It's just it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, it well, here's the thing though.
Like, oh, baby wants a Zima.
No. It's been like that since like the first one. But like not to go off too long on this. But it really shows how the work that without Itagaki in there helping making the game, or like it was because he was the originally he was the creator of Ninja Gaiden and also the original creator of the Dead or Alive series, and it really shows that without him the game itself kind of suffers. It's not saying like one man can really change like an entire game or make something better, but it
But you can
does.
revolutionize it.
That's true, and it really shows like you know his doing was actually pretty good, and then they kind of lost like what Ninja Gaiden really was in the third one. But yeah, that's a go off too off on you, Greg. But yeah,
That's fine. I was letting you guys get that out real quick because I was gonna because that's the only thing that I've actually played or watched or whatever since we last spoke. Because there hasn't been anything new. The only thing new that has like come out recently or has been said recently is the patch update for um, Battlefield 3.
ah,
I play a lot of Battlefield 3. I find it to be a very enjoyable and fun shooter. I don't, however, play it online without friends and we're in a party
hmm
because I don't like hearing bullshit from other people.
right.
I just go in there to, have fun. And I enjoy my shooters too. So, um, but
And I'm not going to say anything about, first-person shooters, because I know that as soon as I do, there will probably be a flame war as a product of it. So
It could be, but then again, what isn't?
it's because, well, I mean, it's just because, as soon as I mention it's like I have an aversion to that, have it's just like that rage comment where it's like one guy goes in and says, "I hate FPS," and then boom, there's a freaking swarm of people and they're all like gunning after him and shit.
I think it's fun. I think it's funny that you put it that way because like it also reminds me of back when the early days of like Red vs. Blue, like when they were starting out. And for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure everybody does know, but like for those very few who don't know, Red vs. Blue was was a series that these guys made
By
using.
Rooster Teeth and it was a parody of the whole Halo gaming series, and they ended up creating their own story. It was I still think it
Yeah.
was probably like one of the best like web created things that I've seen in the past decade.
Yeah, and they were using the in-game models in the game to kind of animate these characters and like talk like whatever they wanted
Not to
into
mention
the
they
character.
made Griffball.
Yeah, that was cool.
And
But
well,
didn't that actually end up getting made into a canon game, in-game thing that people could do on
yeah,
Halo?
well, what they did was in Halo 3, when after they came out with the map pack for, I think it was the last one they came out with it for Halo 3, but it was there was a map called Sandbox or Sand something, and they built a giant square arena or something in the very bottom
hmm
of the map because they wanted to come out with a Griffball game variant.
yes, it was
And
awesome.
but it's grown into its own thing now to where like there are legit leagues and groupings of people that go into a season and then have like a
Or
where a
basically,
thing.
it's like, a football season or a basketball season
Yeah,
only with
exactly.
griff ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It becomes griff
No,
ball season.
yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. But
And even Rooster Teeth made it like a small web series based on a team in Griffball that don't get along very well and are very similar. It's very similar to the red versus blue kind of interactions, but Griffball.
right, definitely. And
Um,
the thing is, I wanted to point it out as an example was like the early days of Red vs. Blue, like they had this episode where it was like like a PSA on the internet, and what if the internet was like in real life, and I just remember that one quote that Simmons comes out and says like, "I hate all your bands." Oh my god,
um,
yeah.
well, I was curious. I was curious what you're gonna say about first person shooters because I here's my thing about first person shooters. I think that there are too many of them, and that
Agreed.
It almost feels like shovelware, doesn't it?
almost.
Almost.
Now,
And
it's
I'd
not
say
to say
almost.
that I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that the first-person shooter industry is shovelware. Far from it. I
Right.
do, rather commend the video game developers for going through and, coming up with, all these different, stories and plots and everything like that, and interesting little, almost insignificant ways of tweaking things in order to try and make a get better gameplay experience. It's just like you have a good product and you're doing everything you can to refine it into perfection. I
Right, and
completely respect that.
that's where like to me Battlefield 3 is such an outstanding game because they really did take the time to make it a good game, to make it something different than what most people have played. Granted, it is a military shooter, and that's like military first person shooters are huge right now. I mean, look at the Call of Duty franchise; it's fucking stupid huge
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, it is.
Um, but like there's a lot of times where I'll get to a point where I go, I need to play something that's not first person shooter because
Mhm.
there's just every I swear to God every month there's a new first person shooter out on the market
Yeah,
every
and
month.
that's sort of what I mean. Like, no matter how much you could be working on, trying to make it good, it doesn't change the fact that because you're consistent, it's like you're not really adding anything, other than modifying a more or less finished product. It's like you're never really taking that big of a step out of the box, and you're just going like the route of Nintendo. Not to say that it's bad, but it's more fall back on what you know, and it will keep you successful and stable, and that's a perfectly good and totally understandable thought process. It's just at the same
There
time,
needs to
the
be
fans could crave more,
there
and they
needs to
do
be
crave more.
something right, and there needs to be something that comes out soon that kind of takes that big leap forward in gaming that a lot of people go, oh wow, I didn't know you could do this. I think Portal is a good example of doing that. Like, oh my god, it's a first person shooter, but it's so fucking different from everything else.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, shoot a hole in the floor and the ceiling in the exact same location. Have fun with that.
Yeah, but like the way the Portal kind of handles everything, and it's not less more of a of what your typical first person shooter would be, and like the person seeing the kill. But more or less it handles in situations where this weapon you can't really kill anybody with, but you have to is very important to you, and you have to figure out a way to get from point A to point B, while avoiding all this dangerous shit's going around you.
yeah, using the first person format and making a puzzle game was unprecedented at the time when the Orange Box came out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, not
um
to mention that now, of course, there are challenges. Get from point A to point B. It's roughly a half-mile away. Take 0 steps.
Hmm.
are you
No
talking about
joke. I mean, there are, yeah, like for Portal 2, their achievement systems, or like their medal system for all the different challenges. Gold medal for god, I think a handful of the different challenges is take 0 steps.
That's
Zero.
it's funny you say that though because that actually can be very difficult, especially when the map requires you to at least move a bit to accomplish getting like a particular portal in a spot. Because the thing about Portal that I've always enjoyed was that there's a certain level of preciseness with certain maps, and generally speaking, there's like don't get me wrong, the maps are the the why am I drawing a blank of the word I wanted to use? The the challenges or the achievements that they had in Portal 2 were not inherently difficult. I aced that game in a week.
Yeah.
I think less than a week. But and I do feel that the puzzles in number 2 were a lot easier than number 1. But I the only reason I think I feel that they're easier or they were easier is because I had played so much of Portal 1 that I knew already what I was getting into. That there was no new learning curve or anything in that fashion. They added some new stuff like the light bridges and the gels and stuff, which did add a level of challenge. But when me and my buddy beat that game in 2 days, and the game is 5 times longer than the original, it kind of led to this idea of like, okay, they didn't really make it harder, they just made it more and with more storytelling essentially.
Right. It was pretty hard already to try and make a sequel to a game that everybody's played, and a lot of people were kind of surprised by it when it came out because nobody has done a game of this certain style and its magnitude. So it was hard for them to really come up with a sequel that what we could do differently. And what they came out with was still like one of the best games I played in
Oh
a
yeah.
long time.
It was my game of my favorite, or my vote for best game of 2011. So
Definitely.
even after Skyrim came out and all those other games came out in the end of the year. So
Right. And
Yeah, but even then, it's just like they've basically created their quintessentially perfect thing. How can you
Yeah.
do something different to it?
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. It's like you made this awesome game, but yeah, whatever you make afterwards, like unless like you're the Half-Life series, like there really isn't anything you can make it better. I mean, it's very hard to do. I mean, like it's like, yeah, man, yeah, that's hard.
I think with the development team of Portal, they need to put their creative efforts into something different and get away from Portal. I think that with their creative prowess, with their like, because to me, the idea of basically forcing gamers to experience space folding onto itself, messing with the fifth dimension in a video game format is something that most gamers haven't experienced. And I think that if they put their creative powers together, they can come up with something that'll do that to gamers again. Hopefully, I mean, we've seen other developers try to do cool stuff or different stuff, and gamers don't respond to it. But I think again, Valve is definitely one of those companies that is willing to take a risk.
Mhm.
Um, I think that they're willing to put their money where their mouth is and let gamers experience something new. So I don't know. I mean, they're according to what I've been hearing from Gabe Newell, or what I've read from Gabe Newell, is that there's not going to be anything inherently new at E3 this year, but there's going to be definitely a a game that they're going to announce. So
Please, for the love of God, let it be episode 3, please.
gamers have been wanting that for a long time. But no, I think the thing with first person shooters also is that, and it's like you said, and I actually feel this way about a lot of games out there. I mean, like take Blizzard for example. Tell me when's the last time they've done something creative and different and new.
That's a good
Well,
point.
I mean,
That's a
I've
very good
never really
point.
been one of who would play much from Blizzard, but I mean, I've sort of been trying to get back into WoW at one of my friends' requests, and like, well, now that I have a job, I can go ahead and afford it. Oh wait, now that I have a job, I can't play it. Fuck.
The irony in all of it, but yeah, like
And
Greg.
then,
Or go ahead, sorry,
and,
Chris.
oh well, then I was gonna mention Diablo 3, which I have the first one on an old CD, and I honestly like really looking forward to the opportunity in which I could go through and at least play a little demo of it. I mean, because from what I've gathered, it turned out to be a hell of a good game. Just I honestly can't give any feedback on it just because of how limited my time and resources are.
Yeah,
Right.
I hear.
But even with Diablo 3, for example, I mean that's not new. I mean that what they're doing is dungeon crawling gameplay, And
Yeah,
don't get me
it's
wrong,
a
I love
sequel, and it's an improvement on a prior installment.
right,
Mhm.
right. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on it in any way, shape, or form because
No, we're
I love,
critiquing.
yeah. What I'm saying is basically like I don't ever want to be that gaming hipster that's like I only want to play the new and different things because I would barely play video games if that was the case. I think gaming is evolving in a direction creatively that is kind of in a slump right now, and that we will hit something in the future that is more of a renaissance kind of thing.
I really hope so because you're definitely right on that.
When I really do feel that, and we're going to get this into the second half of the show, but the whole thing with DLC and how EA is treating their gamers and stuff like that, there's going to be not necessarily a dark age, but I mean, take for example, like with comics, how there's different stages in the comic development, and I really do feel that within the next 10 years we're going to hit um, a huge slump in people wanting to play video games, and companies, the game companies especially, are going to have to figure out something to bring people back.
Right. And this entire discussion will be an incredible discussion to have, which we'll have part of it in the next section, but we'll also have this probably in the next episode when we get the chance. Funny you mentioned about comic books, Greg, though, because in a long time, and this is going to be my little tidbit of what I've been up to. Um, like I read comics on it, here and there. I'm not into it as much as I love to, but I still love to have them around. There's still a good feeling of having a comic book in your hands and not on screen. Um, the new there's new series is coming out I think this week. Is Avengers versus X-Men, and for the first time in a long time, I'm actually gonna go and get the first issue when it comes out in the comic book store. So, which is like I've never done that in such a long time, but it's just like it's oh my god, I cannot wait. So I saw like some of the pictures already, and it's like they're like some of the X-Men's like rocking like some of the old classic costumes. Like Cyclops is wearing like his classic kind of blue unitard costume with his like bulky was it his thing he wears on for his optic blast
The
and
visor thing?
huh.
You said optic blast and I was thinking, are you thinking of calling it a visor?
Yeah, his like his like visor. He has like a big silver, just kind of out there visor that he wears. And then like the classic character in there like Emma Frost and Wolverine and all the cool shit. So I'm like really excited to read to get the comic book and start reading it. But um, other than that though, like for me, like during this time for me, like every year, every like January through May, it's like becomes uh time to get stuff ready, make costumes, and get ready for a fan anime. And it has certainly has been like that. And my gaming time has not been the best during these times. But I do game a bit when I do have the time. With that being said, I have been playing still Marvel. Actually, I've been playing Marvel. Um, and of course, I still love the game. I still love to play it. Not to take anything from Street Fighter X Tekken, which is still a great game in my opinion, but I feel like there's not there's still a certain level of things that are still wrong with the game that I feel that are glaring. And at the same time, like we haven't as far we as in the fighting game community hasn't really found like the kind of it factor for the game. Like when you play Marvel, you get excited with just watching it, or you play Street Fighter and like the hype is there, and you're just watching it unfold. With Street Fighter X Tekken, we haven't quite found that. Like right now, I have and I play, but it's just
It was like in their attempt to mix like the best of both worlds, they sort of had to like almost water it down a little bit. Is
it's
that like kind of what you're getting across?
I mean, it's more or less. We haven't found that it factor for the game. The game is solid, but like it's that magical feeling. I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's like those magical moments you find in a fighting game or in any game really. Like that makes it really fun. So we're still searching, and it's also we don't know how to play the game correctly as some people have pointed out. So it's other than that though, like I'm playing Marvel, but also um I've been doing other stuff too, like art classes and just much in vein of just kind of playing games here and there, um, and then just kind of seeing what's going on in the world today. But yeah, I'm like I can't really say much other than maybe I did some other stuff, but it's nothing really, and
I wanna ask you guys a question real quick, so you can get your guys' opinion on this real quick.
hmm
So on yesterday morning, or whatever, whenever this goes up, I don't know when you're gonna upload this, but
it'll be next week. But yeah, go on.
on Friday the 30th, Thursday the 29th, my bad, Thursday the 29th. I'm looking at the date on my computer, going, when day is it?
Yeah.
But that morning, I was hired to play a zombie.
I saw those pictures. I was wondering about that.
They were very well made.
Well-
I really liked the makeup that you had on there.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the makeup. But if you notice something about the makeup as well, I'm a very PG zombie, as I like to call it. Not excessively gory, not too no big gash or wounds or anything like that. Just very simple. And there's a reason for that, because the
Like simple but elaborate at the same time.
oh yeah. Well, they didn't want to half-ass it. And I know the people that were doing the makeup and stuff. I know them personally. Like you guys have heard of Trash Film Orgy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a bunch of those people.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool, awesome.
And I
Um,
actually did their zombie walk last year.
Same
what was
same
it?
here actually.
yeah, that's where
What was
that's
it, like-
where
It
that's
was
where
like before Halloween, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, because it was they actually do it right before their summer movie thingy that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do the zombie walk the same night they show their first movie out of their 6 weeks that they have their essentially their summer movie festival at the Crest, and they have one movie every week that they show. And going to the Crest to see a movie for TFO is so much fun.
Mm.
But anyway, so I know them personally. As a matter of fact, when I came in, they were like, "Hey, Greg, how's it going?" I'm like, "Hey, guys." And one of the girls was like, "Yeah, I specifically put you aside so I could do your makeup." I'm like, "All right, cool." But the reason I call it PG Zombies is because the district for, or the Department for Motor Safety or whatever, um, they were holding a press conference, or they kind of they put a lot of money into this campaign that is trying to tell people that, like, when you use cell phones or check your makeup or eating or whatever is distracting you while you're driving, you're basically a zombie. And zombies don't pay attention to their surroundings. They don't pay attention to where they're going, and that's what
Because
causes
I have no need to.
Right, and that's what causes car crashes. So there's actually going to be some commercials that you're going to see pop up, and my brother's in one of them. If you see a commercial that comes on that shows um, 4 people in a car partying, he's the driver.
That's awesome.
Huh.
That is
But
sick.
Actually, quite an accomplishment.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see when those they're going to be on like standard, like regular TV, not cable. I don't think, because anything that has to do with Sacramento is what they're going to be on.
That's true.
But the question I want to ask you guys is, do you think zombies have become too popular only because now government-funded groups are using them to get a point across?
Yes. They
Okay, let me
have.
put it this way. We had Rock of the Dead. It was
Oh yeah.
it was a Guitar Hero game with zombies.
Yeah.
Do I really need to say more than
That's
that?
true. I did not remember that one. Well, the
Yeah.
reason I point this out is because, like, The Walking Dead is freaking huge right now on TV.
Oh yeah. Definitely is.
Like, the season just ended, and I'm reading people going like, "I can't wait for the next season. This is all I care about." And I'm like, what the fuck? And then to me, the show's not even that good.
The thing is though is that it's funny that you mentioned it because for the past I think year or two we've been up in arm's length as far as like zombie games. They're like as far as video game wise, like there's like a zombie game within like a good like month or two of each other. And like for us gamers, we've been playing a lot. It's like we you know, at first like, oh, it was awesome when Left 4 Dead 2 came out. It's like, oh, it's the best, you know, game ever, zombies in it. But then like as time went on, it's like, you know, if it hadn't had zombies in it, then the average Joe gamer would like was see it as like, oh, it's a right game, you know, it's nothing too good, and unless you put zombies in it. So it's we've grown tired of it. It's just the like now it's like other people like the average Joes are out there like, oh my god, zombies are awesome. When like we already passed that phase.
Yeah, my dad.
Yeah, it's like almost every shooter game. It has a zombie mode thrown in there.
Yeah, it's almost standard now. But my dad, he's not into horror movies. As a matter of fact, he's kind of the guy that got me into sci-fi.
Nice.
And I always was like, hey, Dad, have you ever seen Alien? It's an amazing sci-fi movie because in my mind it's not really that scary.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, it's terrifying. It's a horror movie that just happens to be also sci-fi. And so it always blew me away that he can't watch horror movies. As a matter of fact, he tells me the story about when him and my mom were dating. They went to go see Poltergeist, and he almost like put my mom in a sleeper hold.
Huh.
So
interesting.
But so like when he sits there and goes like, I absolutely love The Walking Dead. It's amazing. I'm kind of like, all right. Not to say that my dad's like the killer of popular or cool things with us, young people, but it's definitely
that sort of was like the icing on the cake for you.
Well, not for me. I mean, when my dad gets into stuff and I can kind of communicate to him and talk to him about that, stuff, it's cool. Especially at this age, like I'm going to be 29 next month, and it's not.
Jeez, I just turned 20 in December. God, I feel so young. Oh,
the youngsters amongst us. I'm 24 by the way, but yeah, go on, Greg.
When I was your age, it was definitely that situation where like my thing is my thing, and if my parents like it, I don't like the thing anymore. That when I was a teenager, when getting jiggy with it was huge. My dad had walked downstairs and asked me and my brothers and our friends at the time if we were getting jiggy with it. I think we kind of looked at each other and went, well, that's dead.
Nice.
So, like, but now as an adult and my dad gets into something that I've been into for a long time, I just kind of go, cool, that's awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad to see that more people are opening up to things that I enjoy. However, there's a limit to like where it can go, because I think that there's still that part of me, there's still that really nerdy hipsterish part of me that's like, if it gets too popular, I want nothing to do with it. No, it's too popular. I don't. Batman's not cool anymore
like,
because
became
everyone
mainstream.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, something became mainstream, best to not like it anymore.
That's I used to be that way, but now I try to pull myself out of that because like. Especially, I'll take my nephews. My nephews are the ones who got me into that, got me out of that idea, because they would sit there and come up to me and be like, "Have you seen X-Men First Class? It's amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah!" Like I have to push myself out of that because I want to experience these cool things with them,
yeah.
and I don't want them to kind of. I mean, recently I've been able to have conversations with them about like why I don't like certain things. Like I actually, with the money that I got from the zombie thing, I actually bought them a couple comics, and I'm gonna sit down with them instead of just giving it to them. I'm gonna sit down with them and kind of show them like what I'm talking about, like why I have such a fascination with them, and why like when they show Deadpool at the end of Wolverine, why I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I tried explaining that to him, and it was really funny because my nephew Nathan goes, "Uncle Greg, you have to watch Origins," or I think he said Wolverine Origins is what he said to me. You have to watch that with me. And I said, all right, I'll watch that with you, but I want you to understand that I'm not a big fan of that movie. And he goes, why not, Uncle Greg? And so I kind of went into it a little bit, and he looks me straight in the face and he goes, why can't you just watch it like for a movie? Why do you have to compare it to something else?
And he does bring up a very good point.
That is a very good point. Yeah. For his age too.
And that's why when I actually get the chance, I'm going to get Duke Nukem and play it and review it on the merits of it being a game and not what people and not to the expectations that it was supposed to be at.
Okay.
I know
It's
it's
funny.
super old. I know it's old for me to go and go into that this late in the game, but
Right.
I haven't just had an opportunity to go and actually play it.
It's
Gotcha.
funny. It's
So
funny you mentioned that because I had this conversation a while back with somebody about that game, and a lot of the stuff that people like, it's okay, it doesn't do anything inherently bad, and I'm like, here's the problem with you not comparing Duke Nukem to other first-person shooters, or at least itself. There's this particular standard that I think all gamers kind of live up to now when it comes to first-person shooters. A particular control style, like if the controls seem floaty, that's probably not a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what game it is. And that's the problem with Duke Nukem is the controls feel very floaty. Like if I stop moving the joystick, my character should stop as well, not continue a step.
Right.
Um, and that was one of my inherent problems with the controls of the game. The graphics, graphics don't make a game, but
well, I mean, it was made by Gearbox, so
Well, here's the thing. Like,
true.
here's the thing. Like, it was like Gearbox picked it up when it was nearly complete, and they tried to do the best they what they could do with what I got. But majority of the work has already been done by 3D Realms, and I was actually was it during the time this game came out. Reviews were coming out, and I was at the time interning at One Up at the time, and I knew the guy like that was reviewing the game over at One Up, and like because I was I played Duke Nukem before. I really loved the classic Duke Nukem 3D when it came out, and I really loved it. And like if it were me, I would have given it a C, and the guy who reviewed it was going to give it a C too. So, but then like was it like after lunch? Because he had a real deep thought about it. He turned around and gave it an F, and like that sent shockwaves throughout the people giving reviews for the game, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, because like I would give it a C, but like, man, whoa.
You want to know one of honestly the big reasons why I think it got such bad ratings from different groups, different review groups?
and is it different than like the sort of thought that I kind of already have in mind?
Um,
To put it out there first is like before you go into it, Greg, is that like I played some of the game. The shooting is fun. The shooting at its core is fun. Everything else isn't. That's what I want to
well, the
put out.
thing the thing that I want to call it that I've experienced this problem often too, is called nostalgia stubbornness.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is somebody goes, I fucking love, absolutely adore GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64.
Oh yes,
Okay,
yes. I remember
played
this
that
argument.
game,
Yes.
played that game when it first came out. Years down the road, you grow up, you play tons of other games. It's a thing of your past. You love the game, but it's a thing of your past.
Mm-hmm.
You grow up, you play other games, you evolve as a gamer. You go, I want to feel some nostalgia. I'm gonna go play GoldenEye for the 64. You pick it up and you go, oh, what the fuck was I thinking when I was a kid? And by doing that, you've ruined that nostalgic feeling. And I think that's where a lot of people were coming from with Duke Nukem Forever. They immediately were
And you want
like,
to hear the sad thing? I never played Duke Nukem when I was younger. I hate to say it. I never played it.
I tell people consistently with Duke Nukem Forever, it is almost identical to what it was back in the day. Crude, ridiculous, a little hard and like a little overly hard in some parts that don't need to be hard, confusing. Um,
Parodic. It
right.
was a parody of a mishmash of '90s trends and stuff.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the original game was. But a lot of people, it's like if you watch a movie that you think is so funny when you were younger, and you grow up and you're like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like
Biodome.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Great example. It's that same
Anything with
idea.
Pauly Shore in it. Dear God, what the hell were you thinking?
I have a friend. He shall rename. Actually, I'll just tell you who the friend is because I'm not ripping the friend. I'm ripping what he did. He went when Mike, who's been on this podcast before, went to Comic-Con. He met Pauly Shore. And he texts me as soon as he met Pauly Shore. He's like, "Dude, you'll never guess who I met." And I'm like, "Oh, who?" I'm thinking, tons of people were going through my mind. He's like, "Pauly Shore." I literally text back, and it was just instinctual that I text. I was like, "So." I didn't care. I wouldn't have cared anyway. I'd have just been like, "Hey, look, it's Pauly Shore," and move the hell on. I wouldn't even have thought twice about getting his autograph. 'Cause guess what? Not only do I not care, but nobody else cares. And any comedian that knows anything about history of comedy hates his fucking guts. So
Yeah, and I obsess with Comedy Central. That's like pretty much the only station that I actually watch when I do watch TV. When I saw that movie, it was just, oh God. I would prefer to watch a marathon of Dumb and Dumber. I would watch that for. I would watch that for a solid week straight instead of any of his movies.
I don't know exactly what year this cartoon was on, but you guys might have been a little younger than. Because I know you guys have seen it, but I think you guys were young. Like when it was on, you guys were like 2, possibly.
Well, for me, I mean, come on.
Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh yes, I watched
that cartoon.
Yes.
Did you guys watch it when it was airing on TV?
Yes.
I watched it on VHS.
I watched it when that was airing, and I got so excited every time that show came on.
Well, because what year were you born, Anthony?
1987.
Okay, so you were 2 when it first came on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And how old were you? Or what year were you born in, Kris?
I was born in 91.
Yeah, so you weren't even born when it was on.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
So when I was I want to say 5 or 6 when it was actually on TV, and I loved the video game. So it was best of both worlds for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember growing up going, "This is the shit." Hey guys, do you remember fucking that show and Legend of Zelda and Captain N and just do you remember watching fucking Ninja Turtles when we were kids?
Excuse me, princess.
My nostalgia was so strong for those shows that I grew up went, holy shit, those are on DVD. I need to buy them, and it was instant buyer's remorse as soon as I started watching it.
Yeah.
It was like it only sat on my shelf for the nostalgic value, and somebody would come over and be like, "Oh shit, I remember that show. Let's watch it." I'm like, "No, I don't wanna."
Yeah.
I really don't wanna.
Unless
it's awful.
Yeah, unless you're like drunk or you just
The perfect example,
into a drinking game.
Oh my god, turning. Oh my god, because here's the thing: is turning the Legend of Zelda into a drinking game would be very easy because they say like the same few lines throughout every episode, and some episodes they say multiple times.
Right.
Excuse me, princess.
Yeah.
Right, like that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the perfect example that I also like to give to people about how bad it actually is I always say, okay, so there's an episode of Super Mario Brothers Super Show where they go to, I want to say the Turnip Kingdom, and the queen there is looking for a king. But she's called Queen Rotunda because she's enormously fat, and that's why she can't find a guy. So she conjures up. She's a bit of a bitch too, but she conjures up a love potion, or somebody who does that for her. She drinks it, and the first person she sees is Mario. So then Mario is basically trapped. Well, because Peach, Luigi, and Toad try to save her, they are put into a dungeon, essentially. They escape the dungeon and decide that the only way to save Mario is to recreate the love potion, give it to her again, but make sure that none of the 4 of them are looking at her when she sees it. So basically, fucking over some other schmuck. And so they go into a room, and Peach has this book open, and she's reading off the ingredients for the love potion. And I shit you not, she goes like, 1 clove of garlic, 1 artichoke heart, and 1 Fat Boys record. What? I literally peed a little bit laughing so hard when I first heard that because I wasn't expecting. I had to rewind it to make sure that's what I heard.
Nice.
So I mean, that alone tells you like how bad the cartoon was. and so that nostalgic stubbornness that people have is really bad sometimes. Like the thing with the Ninja Turtles right now, with Michael Bay and the Ninja Turtles.
Ugh, why?
I don't, I
Why?
don't like.
Explosions everywhere.
Right, it's that whole thing of like, I don't want Michael Bay to direct it, and he's not going to direct it, which is a good thing. He's
Okay,
just
good,
producing it.
good.
But
Still,
but the fact he's
He'll find a way to
attached
throw in some explosions here and there.
for sure. But the
Knowing
whole
him,
thing.
there'll be at least 10 in that movie.
mm-hmm.
Well, he came out with a press conference where he's like, "They're gonna." I'm sorry, I'm yawning now. He came out with a press conference saying like they're gonna be aliens, and people, the fans just were like, "I'm gonna rip Michael Bay's fucking head off."
Yeah,
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 no,
And
I'm sort of leaning in that category too.
yeah,
yeah, I don't blame them. I don't blame them because it's the situation of Michael Bay. Like, don't change the origin. That's unnecessary. However, um, all art needs a breathing space to grow and evolve into something different. So if he said they're not going to be teenagers this round, they're going to be adults, no one would have fucking gotten. Well, not no one, but people wouldn't have gotten that angry.
yeah.
Um, Not that it's not. It
Mm.
wouldn't have been the first time that we've seen them as adults. I mean, there was a series on called The Next Mutation where they were adults, and as a matter of fact, there was a female one called Venus de Milo.
That's true. I mean, like, as an artist, from a standpoint of looking at artistically, yes. It's cool to have a different version of something that somebody had created. To not necessarily regurgitate the same thing that has been already been that has been already been shown and already been kind of proven. Like, this is what their origins are. This is how they do things. Um, and like it's a cool idea artistically. But I can understand fans just going up in arms just because when I saw that poster, and when I saw like they're like above that spaceship, and I looked at it, it's like, yeah, that's not gonna go too well.
Right, and Kevin
I'm
Eastman.
honestly not looking forward to watching it. I mean, I've seen some of the previews. Or at least like some of the info that they've had for him. Like, no.
Yeah,
Well, here's the thing: is I'm gonna wait for like a full trailer or more information to come out before I full on judge it. I think that there needs to be I think it was the director who's gonna be. Yeah, it was the director talking about it. He said that he's excited that people have gotten this upset and angry about it because it shows that there is a fan base. It shows that the fan base is passionate, and which helps the studio go, okay, we'll put more money into it. Um, but people have to keep in mind that just let it happen. Just let things happen because when certain things happen, other good things might come out of it. For example, if the last Airbender hadn't been like made, we wouldn't have Legend of Korra.
true, true, very true.
So I mean, I'm just saying like people need to calm the fuck down,
Yeah,
not get so angry.
And consider that a lot of things that are made can be seen as stepping stones for either things greater or worse.
mhm,
And
Right.
if they make something worse afterwards, then you can look at what was before and think, well, at least it was a very good and supportive show, and that even though it had something that got tacked onto it, I can still respect, the prior
Well,
installment. Like, it's like looking at Dragon Ball GT after having watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. You're like, wow, GT was shit. I just absolutely love Z.
mhm,
And
yeah,
I mean, hell, I'm a Dragon Ball fanboy. That's been made obvious numerous times. But
mhm,
I mean, it's the fact that I grew up. I watched the entire thing. I viewed it with a very unbiased way, and honestly, like as much as I dislike it for what it became, I can still appreciate that, without the creator there, I mean, they still did a very good job at, trying to make something to live up to its predecessor.
right.
well, I
Hey,
always
it's
tell,
almost like having a child try to live up to the, dreams and expectations of, their, you know, their own ancestors before them.
right, and that's what I also tell people like consistently. you like X-Men, and the last 5 X-Men films have been kind of shit. You still have X-Men. You still have that thing that made you a fan in the first place. That thing didn't go away. That thing still exists. This
And
new
from
thing,
there, you can just have hope for something better to come out later.
even if like there's things like fucking my buddy Jason has one of his favorite games ever is Advent Rising. There's never going to be anything coming off of that ever. And it's because that nobody bought the fucking game. No, but like do you guys know what game I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember.
I'm surprised.
Hey! You know, I was
I'm
I was interested in that game too, and you know, it was just like I remember all the talk that you know it was going to be the entire saga. It's like the first of many games is going to come out, and then like, the first
the
one.
only reason I say I'm surprised is because I'd say almost everyone I asked that to had no idea what game I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm not saying that you guys wouldn't know about games that people normally wouldn't know about, but even
I mean,
people
we have to do a bit of research when we write our stuff. I mean,
yeah, I know. I had to put who I was asking that question to. I didn't do that. But yeah, no, like I said, he's never gonna get that sequel, but he still has Advent Rising.
That's true.
He's still like that didn't go anywhere. That isn't gone. He can still plug in his Xbox and play that game if he wants to.
The dream isn't dead, man.
Like that's the point. I get it. Like, oh, you didn't like X-Men First Class. We'll get you. Guess what? You still have.
Yep.
Like you still have that. That didn't go anywhere.
Yes.
So like I think a lot of people don't put that in perspective at all either, and that's why they get mad as well.
Yeah.
So,
and a good segue actually. I was gonna make one more comment, and then we're gonna go into our break, and then back to our topic discussion.
yeah, funny how we just went off on this huge ass tangent for the past hour and a half.
Yeah,
we're passionate people, man. We're passionate people.
We are very nerdy.
And then
passionate
time
people.
just happens to fly right by.
Yes, it's all magic. But the thing I was gonna say is like,
Do you believe in magic?
the thing I was gonna say.
I'm not
is
gonna
like,
sing the rest of that.
Yeah. I think the last point we'll say is that like, other than well, I can't remember exactly what exactly what it was connected to. Like Greg, you were talking about nostalgia, kind of how like you know everything that that we grew up watching, like later on, is something you don't want to see ever again, which is true. But I will say that X-Men, like the '90s cartoon, will forever be the most awesome series ever created for a primetime TV show. And
Yeah.
it is, and I still have like a few DVDs actually of the original. So that's yeah.
what I was gonna say about Ninja Turtles, by the way, is that their Nickelodeon is actually coming out with a cartoon series very shortly. So
Sweet.
For which series again?
for Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
I think it's
did hear some. I did see a couple articles online about it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it was
nothing
about
worth like really raising an eyebrow to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be watching it because I'm a big fan. But
I'll peep in here and there. But anyways, all right, guys. I know you've been listening to us for a long time, so you better go get yourself a snack, get like a drink, and we'll be back to discuss the topic right after this message. Hello, everyone. This is Anthony Be Honest from the Mission Start Podcast. And if you enjoy listening to this podcast, as well as our other ones on our website, you can now hear us on Stitcher. You can now hear our show as well on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio, on-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes always available for you, no syncing needed, and no money or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher, Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. Hello, everybody. We're back. We got our waters. We're set to go for our topic for tonight. And as stated in the beginning of the podcast, we are going to discuss two topics roll into one. First and foremost, talking about how EA shutting down some of the game servers for some of their games for they have on in their library, including DLCs, anything attached to it, and online play. And also, we're going to be discussing the possibilities of the next generation of next gen consoles, the next PlayStation, the next Xbox, may have this mechanism or this software to prevent people from playing used games on them, forcing people to buy them new instead. So, I throw it out for you guys. Like, which one do you want to tackle first, EA or the next gen consoles possibly banning used games?
I'm kind of leaning towards the whole used game debacle over the new systems, just because it seems to be a bit more of a pressing issue.
I was
Even
gonna
though
say
it's
the I was gonna say let's start with the less pressing issue, just because I feel like that the more pressing issue will be a larger discussion.
Okay.
yeah, that makes
So
sense. So
because I agree with which one you say is the more pressing issue, but I think we should start with the least one first.
Okay.
all right,
So, if for people who don't know or haven't noticed, EA is shutting down some of their game servers to some of their games in their library, and there has been a reason to do this, but at the same time, there's been some feedback, but not a lot. Majority of feedback coming from the game journalists and game enthusiasts in the industry, but not a lot from the fans. But I'll read off the games that they're shutting off the service for. And note, you can still play the games, but you just can't play online, or you can't buy DLC for them, or you just can't do anything online. Offline, you can still play the game. So the current games you can't play as of right now is Boom Blocks, Party Bash for the Wii, Burnout Revenge for Xbox 360, EA Create for PC, PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360. EA Sports Active 2.0 for PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360. EA Sports Active NFL Training Camp for Wii, FIFA 10 for PlayStation Portable and Wii, The Godfather 2 for PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. MMA for PS3 and Xbox 360. Need for Speed Pro Street for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The Saboteur, including the Midnight Club Access for PS3 and Xbox 360. Spare parts for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And then this is April 1st, haha, today. They just shut down 3 more servers yesterday. It was Battlefield 3 Aftershock for iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch. Fantasy Safari for iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch, and Ghost Hovers for iPhone. With that being said, a majority of these games, or at least the more recent ones, did require you buy an online pass to play them because of because of EA being fearful of the whole piracy going on that happens in the industry. Um, I mean, like, as far as like the first, like, what is your guys' reaction as far as like when you hear EA shut down servers to so many games, and even though these games you may or may not played, like, what does this kind of like? Or go ahead, Greg.
I think honestly, like first off, the servers that they shut down are obviously games that are not getting played that often. Just because you have, like 200 to 2,000 people playing on one server doesn't necessarily mean that you need to spend company money to keep it up. This to me is something that a lot of companies have done in the past. Now, the idea of shutting down servers at all is
it kind of
something.
seems just a little too extreme, don't you think?
It can and it can't, because I mean, technically, like Bungie, shut down the servers to Halo 2 once Halo Reach had come out. That there was very little people still playing Halo 2 online, and it's only a way that for them to basically use those servers elsewhere, to use those servers in a more financially fit area for the company itself. To spend more money on servers that aren't getting as much use that could be used for other things is something that I understand. Now, if
But what
EA
about for
were
more
to,
recent titles that have only been around for maybe like a year or so?
that's where the issue comes in, is like the one that like FIFA 10 or FIFA, was it FIFA 10 or something like that?
Yeah, FIFA 10. Yeah.
Like that one seems a bit early to me. That was probably the easily like the closest one to me that I was why that one. And the only thing I can think of is that there's just not a lot of people playing FIFA 10. Um, Not
Could
enough
it
people.
just be because with all these different sports games that are coming out, so that they have a new one, like roughly every like 10 months or so?
Right. I've said for years that like the biggest problem with with Madden um is that EA has a monopoly on NFL. And due to that, there's no competition with Madden. So coming out with a new Madden every year makes absolutely no sense. If they just came out with like a downloadable patch for the game that updated the roster, that would be cool. But they're not going to do that because there's a lot of meatheads out there that buy that game just because it has the new roster. Um,
Well,
so
or I was gonna say something, but I mean, you're totally right, Greg. Like EA has been doing that because they had the license to do that because they're with the NFL, signed the partnership. But the scary thing about this idea is because it got me thinking. Because I was looking at the list and there's a few games that I think people will still play today, even if they're people not people would play them. Um, like an example, Burnout Revenge. Like I think people probably are still playing that game, or people who love racing games, like the real arcade style, like to play that certain game online against other people. Um, the thing is though is that what I fear is that because if Activision ever gets the idea, like in a scenario, they can release a Call of Duty game every year, which they have been, but shuts down their server after the next Call of Duty comes out and the last Call of Duty is over, so that that they'll keep generating money every time they release a new Call of Duty, no matter what, and they'll save money at the same time by shutting down their servers.
well, I think there needs to be a direct number that they should release on how much traffic that server's getting.
Yeah.
Because I think if they did that, it might be a little bit more understandable. People might be more accepting of it. Like, oh, that's getting like way less traffic than that server is capable of doing. I think if the server, is a weak server and that there's really no other reason to shut it down than they're just wanting to, then yeah, that's bullshit. But I kind of feel like that EA's servers, like they're not just shutting down the server and then never using it again or disposing it. They're probably repurposing it towards one of their other games that could use it. Um, I know that with like Call of Duty, for example, with Activision servers, they they have to deal with console more than PC,
Hmm.
whereas like EA has to deal with both really strongly, especially with Battlefield. There's a fucking ton of Battlefield players on the PC. Um, so I know that like they probably had to. They're looking to repurpose. They're looking to basically recycle and reuse what they've had. I think that the scariest thing about it is that they're able to just shut down a server whenever they want. But at the same time, you take that risk by playing their games. You take that risk by playing any company's games. I mean, and on that note, I mean, whenever a company does something like this, they're gonna piss somebody off. They're gonna make somebody mad.
But
I
isn't this a slap in the face for people who bought the game and then on top of that buy the EA Online Pass to play the
well,
game online multiplayer? I mean, like,
no, because here's the thing: is the people that had to buy that pass, like for example, Battlefield 3 for me, I didn't buy the game. I rented the game. I rented it through my Blockbuster account, and I have it for as long as I want it. But because I didn't buy it, I had to buy the online pass. Um, but that means I only spent $60, or not 60. I only spent $15 on a game, whereas everyone else I know spent 60. But that 60 that they spent, they still didn't have to buy the online pass. That was given to them for purchasing the game, and that's what EA does with all of their games. They've been doing it for the past 4 years now, where in order to play their game online, you have to buy the game. Um, Now, I understand people might say, like, okay, so being forced to purchase the game to play it online might still be considered a slap in the face. But at the same time, that kind of goes for a lot of games. I mean, if you want to play that game online, and I feel like a lot of these games that they shut down the servers for, those people own those games. I don't know I don't think personally that um, Blockbuster is still renting FIFA 10 since FIFA 12 is out. I feel like they have stopped selling or stopped renting that one out. So to me, for them to do something like this doesn't really seem like that big of a thing. It doesn't seem like it's that pertinent of a problem. To me, what's more of a problem is that they are forcing people to buy their games. They are forcing people to purchase their games in order to stop retailers like GameStop from selling their used games. That, oh, okay, well, if you want to play my game online, if you want to play this game online, you can't go find a used copy. You have to buy the game, brand spanking new, or buy the $15 thing online. And to me, that is bullshit. To me, that's crap. That's more of a slap in the face to gamers than shutting down a couple servers for games that probably aren't played that often.
So more like on top of just basically saying out with the old and in with the new, they're also pretty much just for the most part saying that in order for you to actually enjoy yourself fully, we're gonna make you pay as much as we can possibly get out of you.
Right.
And just on that same note, I'm just wondering, just would this even be an issue if EA had decided to, let online play be free, even, in a pre-owned copy?
The funny thing is like you make anything free and everybody wouldn't complain at all. But
agreed.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking is that if it wasn't for the issue that EA is charging people to play online, if they didn't do that, then I mean, really, would this even be an issue? I mean, it would just be like, oh, okay, so since this game,
well, they're not directly charging it. It's not like all of a sudden Blizzard shut down the World of Warcraft servers. I mean, that would be something. I mean, that would be huge. Because to me,
you
it's
could
like,
liken that to their subscription program, where $30 for 2 months, and if you don't pay, then you can't play.
yeah, I mean,
in some respects, it can be likened to that.
right.
well, the reason EA doesn't do the whole like subscription thing is because there would be almost no more gamers for EA. Like, people would just walk away from their games. They're like, as much as I love the game that DICE made, I'm not gonna fucking sponsor EA ever. Which would suck. I mean, that would be a detrimental problem to the gaming world. But it's like you said with the whole money situation. The only reason we're discussing this at all is because of money. It's like the whole Mass Effect 3 ending thing. Here's what's going to happen. And this all comes down to money. BioWare's going to make an ending. Microsoft and PlayStation are going to force people to buy it because that's just what they do. They make people buy things. It's on top of EA making people buy it. And then fans are going to fucking basically flip tables in anger that they're forced to buy an ending for a game that they didn't like the original ending in the first place. And so then we're going to hear this huge resurgence of how much people hate DICE and hate EA, and not DICE, but hate BioWare and hate EA and all this and stuff. And it all comes down to money. That's all it ever comes down to.
That's true.
People are only pissed off because they have to spend a certain amount of money to do something. And in my opinion, and I hate to do this again, but we live in a capitalist state. To want things for free is kind of a ridiculous notion. To sit there and go like, oh, I deserve to play this game online for free, whether I rented it or not, is kind of a douchebaggy way of looking at it. You don't deserve to play it online just because you think you do. I mean, first off, if you're able to play any game online, your life is pretty fucking good in already. So bitching about not being able to play it online because you didn't purchase the game or they shut down your server is move on to another game. Seriously, there's other games out there you could be playing other than these ones that not a whole lot of people are playing, and that now you like can't. It's just, to me, it's nonsense. To me, it's one of the situations where it's not detrimental to your life. It's not a situation where your life is in shambles and you can't do anything now. You should be fine.
I think the real issue is that I mean, like, look, I agree that like gamers in general, and it's not against you gamers out there who are listening, because we're gamers too, is that there's a group, a majority or a good amount of people out there who feel like they're entitled to like whatever they buy, like they own. When realistically, all you're doing is you are buying a license to play that game from the company.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. When you guys went and saw the Last Airbender, M Night Shyamalan's movie.
Hmm.
I haven't seen
I
it,
haven't seen it,
unfortunately.
but go on.
Okay, let's say you did see it. Let's say you
Okay.
did spend $10 to see it in the movie.
Okay.
Would you guys feel like you are entitled to basically tell him that you're pissed off, or that you're entitled to have a different, like, that he should remake it? Like, no, you're not entitled. You are the consumer, and as a consumer, you're not entitled. You are consuming somebody else's work. You are consuming somebody else's stuff. So, I mean, to me, that's no different than going to Walmart, buying one of their shirts, and then getting pissed off that it fucking has a tear in it a week after you have it. You went to Walmart and bought a shirt. You should know that's what you're buying. Like, I think that's the problem, is there's a lot of really dumb consumers out there that don't look at things as they buy them, that don't put any thought into what they're purchasing, and that's where a lot of this problem comes into play. Um, I mean, I feel like we're getting a little off topic from the
Right.
server thing,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
I mean, this
Yeah.
goes this
Hmm.
goes with all of gaming and money situations at all.
Right.
Um,
And yeah,
like,
and to wrap it back to the topic, you know, for a gamer, I mean, like $10 to go watch a movie is something, it's one thing, but for the gamer out there who is buying $60 for a game, is like $60 is a lot of money at first, or first of all, and it's more, and it's to a game to where it will, you know, it will be to their liking. And say I went and bought Burnout Revenge for 360, and I got it on day one. I'm happy. I got my game. I come home. I play online, and then like months later, or whatever, or like a year or two later, I found out that EA shut down their server. I feel like EA would just slap me in the face of like, or just out of disrespect, because I bought their game, but at the same time they shut down the servers to a game I really like, so I can't play it online anymore against anybody else. So
So you just kind of feel cheated through the
yeah,
whole aspect of it.
yeah, definitely. And from that point of view, I mean,
um, I don't know. I honestly, I mean, I've been a consumer of entertainment things for, I can't even count how many years. I mean, ever since I was 5 years, or before I was five, when I was four, I was begging my parents for an NES. Um, like, that's all my life has ever been, is consuming entertainment, and not once in my life did I ever feel like I deserved more than what I got, or that I ever feel like I was entitled to something that I'm clearly not entitled to. I mean, to me, it's and I'm not saying you guys aren't wrong in feeling that. I'm just saying, like, I've never understood that feeling. I've never felt that before. I've never felt like my that my fandom deserved more than what I got. I mean, granted, there's been situations like with, take Firefly for example, where it ended too early, and the fans wanted more. Wanting more is fine. Feeling like you deserve more is bullshit. And we wanted more. We wanted that movie, and we got that movie, and it was fantastic. But for fans that ever said, like, we deserve more Firefly, you don't
I mean,
deserve
that's a
anything.
really big claim that you're ended up making, because, I mean, here you are, you're saying that you're just, I mean, pointing out that you're just some random guy, but you feel as though that, what the author, the creator came up with wasn't good enough for. Because of that, you need them to do more work, even though they already came out with a finished product.
Right. And that's kind
And
of the
that's
point
kind
that
of
I'm making.
why I'm like really angry with what the fans ended up doing with the whole Mass Effect 3 thing, is
Me too.
because so many people were so pissed off with the ending that they basically, forced BioWare to go ahead and create additional content to put a quote unquote better ending to it.
Well, like, I had an argument with a guy in a chat room for the Mass Effect 3 thing, and the big thing that like we were talking about back and forth was, he was like, I'm entitled because I paid $60 for that game, and I went, you're not entitled to shit, man. You purchased the game on your own will. You didn't have to buy that game. If you didn't buy that game and you happen to rent it, and you have a subscription fee through, like, I don't know, any other, like, Blockbuster or GameFly, you rented that game. You beat it within, like, a couple days. Would you still feel entitled? No, because you didn't fucking spend $60 on it. The only reason you feel entitled is because you spent $60. And let me tell you, dude, you're not fucking entitled. You're a consumer, and you're something that they make a living off of. You are a tool to them to make more money. And for you to honestly feel like you are entitled makes you probably one of the worst human beings on the planet.
Strong, very
Because that
strong
means
words.
that he's the type of person that goes into a restaurant and orders a steak, and if it's not just done just the right way, he sits there and gets angry at the waiter or gets angry at the place. Or I hate it when I go into a restaurant with somebody and they immediately go, I am going to pay for this food, and if it's not cooked the right way, I'm never coming back to this place ever again. What makes you think you're entitled to that extent? You're not.
Yeah,
Oh my god, it's
like
just
it,
so
You're
frustrating.
just a consumer in the whole grand scheme of things.
hmm
You have creators, overall artistic vision, and basically they've put in all this time and work. And I mean, it's almost the equivalent of going up to just let's look at any of the Renaissance painters like Leonardo da Vinci, and then going up to him after he's finished the Mona Lisa and saying, "Yeah, I don't like the way that the face looks. I want you to change that."
Yeah,
yeah,
I kept
I
saying
that's
mean,
true. That's
that was the
yeah.
exact analogy I used, except I said oh my god, a Rembrandt painting, and saying that you didn't like how a flower looked, so you wanted him to change it.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just they put in all that time and effort and dedication to their product, and then only for you, just some random guy off the street. Hell, I mean, anyone is just that random guy. But I mean, go up to them and say that, yeah, I know that you put all this time and effort into it, but yeah, I want you to do better.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be better. And
Yeah.
it's like,
It,
what the fuck?
yeah,
What
it
sort of right do you have to go and complain to the artist or whomever about their work and say that it's not good enough to be met up to your particular standards? It's what they wanted to create, and
mhm.
they were satisfied with that unless later on they say,
Well,
yeah, didn't like that, and so here are a couple edits or something.
Yeah.
well, what's really funny, and I want to make it very clear that because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I am a critic. The podcast that I do through Autistic Alliance does a lot of um we review things. We talk about things. And we go, I don't like that, or I don't like that. Um, and that kind of causes. Sorry, my dog was barking. It completely distracted me, and I'm trying to find where I was without sounding like, because now I realize I'm stumbling.
Oh no, no,
Um,
it's cool. It's cool. I could bring a I could bring around to say that um that look, games come out a lot. Like there's no doubt, the game industry, they make a lot of games, and there's at least a new game every week or every other day. It just so happens like a lot of people like to play those games, and gamers often more than likely go from one game to the next. It's just the way. It's just the way how the game industry works. The and then to look at the other side, I do agree that I would totally agree on what EA shut down their servers for some of their games, because like you said, Greg, if there were like traffic on one game that nobody's really playing as much, and you need that server space for say Battlefield 3, so you get more people into the servers to play the game, then it's a no brainer. Like yeah,
right.
definitely you should totally do that. And it makes sense from a company standpoint too.
Well, and the other thing I was going to make a point to that was that no matter what a company does, like, you're gonna have to piss people off to get things done, especially when you're
Yeah,
as big of a company as EA.
yeah,
Like, you're gonna piss people off to get things done.
yeah. You can't make everyone happy. There's just no way. I mean, like, you can make some people happy, but you can't make everyone happy. It's
And if you try making everyone happy, then you come out with a lackluster product.
true,
Right.
true.
Which is why BioWare basically folding and saying, okay, we'll come out with new endings. Like that not only sullies the artistic integrity of the game, but now it also pisses people off like me who enjoyed the ending and understand what they were doing with the ending. I mean, I kind of feel um, like I was saying a second ago, like I don't want to come off as somebody who's like, you don't have the right to have an opinion about the end of a game or about how a game plays out or how a company is dealing with their stuff. Everyone's a critic, everyone's has a right to their opinion, but to take that opinion to the extent of feeling like you are, and this is the point I was going to make before my dog barked. But taking that opinion to the extent that you feel like you are entitled to get things changed, is bullshit. That you are not entitled just because you have an opinion.
Hmm.
That makes you know, like, if you want something different in your games, then go to college to be a game developer, because otherwise you just need to be a consumer and just take
Enjoy
in what.
what comes out, and just take the game, at how it was. Uh,
Well, like
Basically,
there's.
it's understanding that there's the game that they put all this time into. It's when they put it out there, it was for the most part their final product. They were happy and they were done with it.
Yeah.
And just asking for more. I mean, sure, like an occasional addition, like with the download content packs, which normally I'm against, but for the sake of continuing on with this point, I do see that it does actually, provide some positive benefit towards the overall gaming experience because, uh, at least it gives the game developers some more room for artistic freedom and, to further boost their own creativity and, continue to push out the ideas that they have come up with and developed and try to make more
Well,
ideal.
the thing, like with DLC, that I think is the biggest problem is that people don't want to pay for it, and they think, and a lot of people feel like a lot of the DLC is like the DLC, the day one DLC for Mass Effect. The stuff that's in that DLC is not detrimental to the story. You can take it or leave it. Like that character has no bearing or weight on what happens in that story.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
extra stuff.
yeah, you don't have to purchase it. So to sit there and get pissed off that there's DLC on like, you don't have to buy it. Why are you angry at DLC that you didn't purchase in the first place? It doesn't make any fucking. So what that some of the code is on the disc, so that way it's easier for you to download, or easier for them to give it to you, or what? You still don't have to buy it. You didn't get gypped out of something that you didn't fucking purchase.
At the same time, though, like there's a certain way that companies should interact with their fan base, so that they shouldn't alienate them, but at the same time take their feedback for a game they would like to see. Like, like example, say, Capcom makes another fighting game, and like they want feedback from people who played the previous fighting games, or played like who haven't played their fighting games, and want some feedback on, what would be really cool. At the same
Yeah,
time, you don't want to take the entire feedback and make what they want in a game where it will take away what you guys would originally have planned from the beginning.
I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but have you guys ever heard the term, "a camel is a horse by committee"?
No.
The term comes. It's an old term, but I
oh
love the
wait,
idea
no,
of
I
it.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay,
But continue.
yeah, yeah. The idea is that a horse is a beautiful animal, right? It's very intelligent, very smart. It does a lot of cool stuff.
Majestic.
Well, majestic.
Mm-hmm.
A camel is a little bit ugly, a little bit stupid, a little bit stubborn, a little bit complicated. So the idea that if you were to write a story and it's just you, and the story is fantastic because you are the only creative mind on that story, and you love that story, that's the horse. Now, jump, to like, oh, an adaptation, or fans didn't quite like it as well as you did, and all of a sudden now, all of these fans, or a bunch of these writers are working on one thing. That thing has now become a camel. It's become a little ugly, a little bit more convoluted, a little bit heavier, and so that's where that term, a horse is a camel by committee, or a camel's a horse by committee. And that to me is what's happening with a lot of things nowadays is that, like, I say this about Walking Dead. The comic book series is phenomenal. I absolutely adore it because it is one man's, maybe two men. Like, of course, there's the artist as well, but I mean, Robert Kirkman's the main writer on it. It's his vision, it's his baby, and he's taking it where he wants to. Whereas the TV show is going, I don't fucking know where. The TV show is like, and I'm not comparing it to the comic in that regard. I'm comparing it to like good writing, just
Yeah,
good
just
writing in general.
like evaluating it on the merits of being a TV show.
Right, and I feel it's really badly directed. Like, at least the second season is really badly directed, really badly put together, and I think that it is the perfect example of a horse is a camel by committee.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I totally agree.
I said that backwards again, but
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say.
I definitely, yeah, I know what you're going. And I totally agree. And like, look, I'm an artist, and I know, like, hey, some of my art may not be the best in the world, but some people will think it's cool, and some people will think it's not. I'm not trying to please everybody. I'm just, I'm doing it for myself, for my own benefits.
Yeah,
Um,
it's more like comparing a 3-year-old's drawing to, a fucking Pablo Picasso. I
Right.
mean, it's just that, you have to understand that, you know, even if the drawing is a bunch of scribbles, at the same time, I mean, and still appreciates that, they went and, put the time into it to make something that they wanted to. And at the end of it, I mean, don't go and evaluate them for, what it is. Just ask them what they, wanted to display it as, and only then from there you sort of make your own opinions on it.
right. The thing I want to point out to close this topic and go on to the next one is that we're in an age of games where uh, you go and pay for online servers to play multiplayer. We're in the era where you have to pay Activision to play Call of Duty on their exclusive servers. We're in an era where we have to pay MMOs. Well, not well. We still pay MMOs to play on their servers and games. We pay a lot for our games, and it is, yeah, it is our hobby. And people complaining that the ending wasn't right, or that this wasn't to my liking, do really need to shut up and take it, because it's if you're that upset about it, if you're really that upset about what is going on with how money is being charged to you for your games, then don't buy the game. You know, don't buy
Yeah,
the
if you're
game.
just gonna bitch and complain about it, then you may as well.
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
if
just
your
don't
life,
bother with it.
I,
Like you
I
said.
always tell I tell people about the Mass Effect 3 thing. Like, seriously, move the fuck on. It is game, one game
Yeah.
with thousands of other games out there, different things to play, read, watch. Like, I if I got stuck on one thing for as long as these people have, I would be missing out on so much.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Funny how we came about this topic, while we're talking about EA servers shutting down. um, but the other topic we want to discuss tonight is the possibilities of used games not being able to be played on the next PlayStation, the next Xbox, and which might as well just say, might even be not even the next Wii U, or whatever the hell they call it. Um, Now, it is a certain fact that the companies in the video game industry are some are do not like the piracy that does go on, that people steal games from PCs or 360s, or hacked PS3s and not pay for the games that they put their hard uh, uh, work, sweat, and tears into. It's a proven fact. So in a sense, to try to fix that, that's why you have EA having, people pay $10 extra to play on their servers, or like, other companies doing the same thing.
Um, to kind of say something real quick that I think is really funny that's on my mind directly right now.
Mm-hmm.
Companies that think that the piracy is what's causing them to lose money is silly to me. Um, the idea of them basically making a console that you would never be able to use or play used games or play pirated games is they're only there because they think that that's honestly why they're losing money, when in reality that they're not losing money because of that. They're losing money because of all this other shit that people are just don't want to
Not to
pay
mention
money to
bad
do.
business practices as well.
That too. I mean, go back. It's that whole thing of, I say go back a few years ago. And I say few in like the regards of like back when the GameCube and Xbox and Dreamcast were out and whatnot. I go to a friend's house and I go, "Oh, cool! You have these systems. Where are all your games?" "I don't own any discs." "Why is that?" "Well, I have my system modded." And I go, "How so?" And they show me a little switch that's on the thing where if it's to the left, the system becomes a regular system. If it's on the right, it becomes the modded system. And it's not modded to the extent that he could cheat in video games or that he could do something bad to somebody else and make their gaming experience bad.
In some
It's
cases, it's to play import games.
that too. But in this guy's case, it was a way for him to get all of these cool games and be able to play them without having to worry about late fees or rental, without having to worry about, I got to pay all these bills, but I still want to play all these games, and I have a lot of free time, but I don't have enough money on that free time.
Hmm.
So that was a way to pirate games before the internet was what it is now.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
people were doing that as much as they were then as they are now.
Yeah.
The amount of piracy has not changed. However, they think it has, only due to the fact that they're losing money.
The proven thing that I will say it is that piracy, no matter how you slice it and dice it, yes, it's a bad thing. But at the same time, it could be a good thing. Um, because for some games that do come out, not many people would go and buy it. But if it's pirated, more people are playing it. And more people are getting to play it and like it and might possibly buy the next game or look for future stuff. I just read recently that Starbreeze, when they put out their latest game, I think it was crap, what was it called? Shit, oh, Syndicate. So when they put out that game, they put a code in the install, and it was in the patch notes that said like, obviously you're pretty good at pirating games, or you're pretty good with this coding, so like why not get like in the game industry and do this sort of stuff as a job. And they put that themselves. They put that message in there themselves, to saying to people out there like, hey, you could do this in the game industry. You don't have to, you know, go and do what you do. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's a bad thing. But you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
piracy overall is it is an illegal practice. It's stealing somebody else's artistic design. It's not necessarily a good thing. However, it's not a bad thing either. It's not like it's completely destroying what the gaming industry is. What's destroying the game industry is these bad business practices that these companies are making, by forcing people to buy their games to play it online, to forcing people to do certain things that they don't want to do, in the terms of money. I mean, and again, like I said earlier, that all of this comes down to money.
Yes.
That's everything that these businesses decide to do, everything that gamers decide to do when it comes to a video game, everything that gamers say comes down to money. It's that whole like Freudian thing of everything. Like Sigmund Freud basically said that everything that man or woman does, um, is a way to get attention of the opposite sex. I say the same thing for businesses and money, or fans and money.
Yes. Yes.
Everything that's said and done, that's screamed from the rooftops, everything it revolves around money.
Hmm.
And that's really why the whole DLC problem is going on. That's why all the businesses are mad about piracy. Like, do you guys remember? I remember a long time ago, when before the internet.
Hmm.
Um, There was a guy that was outside of my mom's work in a van, and he sold bootleg DVDs. Or not bootleg, it was bootleg VHS. My bad, bootleg VHS. That's how long ago this was.
Hmm.
And he was pirating movies. He would go into a theater with a camcorder, record the movie, go to his house. He had a device that copied it a bunch, and he would sell them for like a few bucks a pop.
Hmm.
Whereas the internet, if I go onto a website right now that lets me download torrents, I'm doing it for free. So no one's really making money. No one else. It's not like no one else is making any kind of money off of this pirating stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Like it was to me, it was worse in the '80s and '90s than it is now.
Hmm.
But they're not going to see that because people are, because the economy is so bad right now that they're not making the money. Because people go, oh, I really want to go see that movie, but I really don't want to pay $10 because I don't have it. I don't have the $10 to just spare. I don't have the $60 to spare on a game. Like I buy one game. Like my neighbor up front, he doesn't have money to buy games ever. Um, the last game he bought was Skyrim, and they could barely afford that. So it's kind of like this is why people aren't purchasing your games like you want them to. Um, this last year was a pretty big game year for games because there were I don't even want to count how many threes.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
Yeah, especially in November. I mean, I posted that one article on our staff blog section where I actually went through and made a list of every single game that they released in November. The only thing that I could say to that is just why. And I mean, seriously, there was what, like 52 titles released just in that one month.
It's insane. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's funny, like they do this every year. We shouldn't be surprised, but they do this every year, every fall, every like winter, during that time. Like the game industry just decides to just release a shit ton of games in that time period. But now it's like it's not only like in the fall now. Now we got games coming out a shit ton in the spring too. Which is funny because I figured like if you're gonna release games like in a good time for people to go out and buy and play, like it's like in the summer, because kids are at home, they're playing with their friends, whatnot, and what a better time would be to release games in the summer, but like, no, they decide to push it for the opposite directions.
yeah,
uh,
because their idea is that, and this is the big business idea for why games are not sold during the wintertime is that the people have more money during the wintertime due to businesses giving holiday bonuses for people basically getting people going, I'm gonna save up as much as I can so that way I can buy all these gifts for holiday season. I've told my friends and family very clearly that the holiday season to me is more about spending time with my family and having good food.
mhm.
If you want to spend money on me, make sure that the food isn't shit. um I
Yes.
mean, that's honestly what it comes down to. Like, I would rather sit there and go to my sister's house with my nephews and my mom and dad and my brothers and go and have a great time playing board games, having conversations, having a few drinks, maybe playing some, Wii or some Connect or something like that because it's easier for them to play those games.
Hmm.
And then open like maybe open a couple gifts for the boys, my nephews, because watching kids open gifts is way cooler than watching adults open gifts. Especially 9 times out of 10, adults are very particular on what they
Oh
like.
yeah.
So sitting there buying like, I got a gift card for you. An adult's not gonna go like, holy shit, a gift card. No, they're gonna go, cool, thanks. I'm gonna go buy something that I want.
Hmm. Yeah, like,
So buying.
or go ahead.
So go ahead.
Oh, no,
No,
okay.
you're yeah.
Okay.
You're fine.
So what I was gonna point out is like, now this is something all we all agree on. So it's not. I think here's the thing that I want to get to is that, yes, money is it does do things to people, and especially for companies and fans, it is a major driving force. With that said, I was thinking like the idea of like used games being cut off, possibly not being able to play on the next generation of consoles. I feel that that is just cutting what's the term, cutting your nose to spite your face. And
Right. Yes.
and the fact that you're
Great one there. Great idiom. I like that one.
thanks. You're cutting away the people who want to play a game that they bought used, that they never experienced before. Because for me, I'll put it out there. I played used games, like I have in as a gamer. Like I have played games that I at the time didn't have money for when it came out, but when it's out there for cheap for a used game, then I'll definitely buy it and play that game and have a great time with it. Now, if you're cutting out the used games away from people who have never experienced that, who had say like they have never played Halo or never played shit, what's an old game, for the sake of this argument, like Mass Effect, and they never played those games,
Or
and
what about the King of Fighters series? I
yeah,
mean, they come out with new games every so often, but I mean, it's just that there's a story that sort of builds up in it,
yeah,
and the fans can relate to that.
yeah.
Well, you're mentioning the whole used games thing, and what cracks me up about that are them being upset, like, oh, we're gonna make a console that doesn't play used games because we don't want people buying used games anymore. What makes me laugh about that is they don't want to put into the idea that every time I walk into a fucking GameStop, I am bombarded with these guys going, "Hey, if you sell us your used games, you can then put money down on this new game." They
Yeah,
push more new games than they do used. It's like,
yeah.
why would these companies be mad at something like that? It just doesn't fucking make any sense to me.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I I have played a lot of games where I had so much fun, even if it was used, that I would never have gotten if I had the well, I would have gotten the same experience. But it's just I didn't have the money at the time. But just getting it for cheaper later on, it was just a better option for me. Um, it's I mean, Chris, what do you think, man? Like, what's your thoughts on possibly the next gen consoles not having a
Well,
used?
honestly, I think that if they go through and they more or less get rid of the whole, pre-owned gaming aspect where, you need to register games to your console or whatever, I honestly think that it's kind of like shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, as I believe I mentioned before, they're sort of going the route of I mean, it's like they're going the route of the PC of the early 2000s, where they tried to make sure that like anyone who was playing a game, it needed to just like be tied to them more or less. And I mean, in the end, it still didn't necessarily stop piracy, and it sort of influenced more people to go towards the console market. With the way that the whole situation that they have set up is going, which hopefully I do, hope that they change. Uh, the whole idea of getting rid of, the notion of using pre-owned games. It means that they're pushing out, new games towards consumers, and what if the person happens to not like it? Then it's not exactly like they can go back and sell it to sort of get back some cash. And and if someone who, as mentioned before, can't afford the game itself, and just want to go ahead and get a pre-owned copy of it, then they're also being cheated out of the whole overall gaming experience. And in a way, I just sort of think that they're just sort of shooting themselves in the foot with that.
And if
And while I
or,
Yeah, and well, I mean, I can see that they're just trying to do that to more or less save their own asses, and look towards trying to progress the company to make people more interested in making sure their games are in pristine condition and everything like that. But at the same time, it does sort of just cut away their potential markets, and in the end, I just don't think it's a very wise decision on their part.
and the sad thing to add top of that, I mean, in the way that they're doing right now is that they will cut off like we said before, like in the previous EA servers, they will cut off the services to a game that nobody will play or people have played and have fond memories about, And if the next consoles were to be not have used games be playable, they'll end up remaking the game in HD and reselling it to you on XBLA and PSN like they're doing with some of their titles right now, aka Devil May Cry HD series, Metal Gear Solid HD series, well, 3D games that were remaking in HD for you to rebuy. Um, so it, it it's it's really a disheartening thing to hear if they decide to go this route, which I really hope they don't. But at the same time, like they have to support their library because look at Nintendo. They've been supporting their library for as long as they live. They've always supported you can play your own Nintendo games on the next console, or the previous console before that. You can still play your old favorites on the console. They've always hearkened to their origins and like their their lineup of games they have that people may or may not have played. So I mean, like, yeah,
Yeah, and again, we're not, we're not, sitting here saying like this is what these companies should do because we're not in charge of these companies. But
Yeah, I mean,
and if and
and with my last statement, I was just saying that I personally think that it's an ill choice in how they plan on going. But if they choose to do that, I mean, I'm not going to object to it. It just means changing a customer's buying habits.
yeah.
right, they want people to buy more of the used games. They want people to actually spend money on used games more, and you can't fault them for that in that regard. But at the same time, it's like don't blame the lack of sales on piracy. Don't blame the lack of sales on used games being sold. That to me is like blaming a child for doing something before they do it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden the child's walking into the kitchen and then you spank him on the ass because he's looking at the ketchup bottle that he clearly wants to squeeze. He didn't do it yet. So why are you going to hit him? So
Yeah,
that's how it comes off to me. So
yeah, and I totally agree. Like the restate what Greg said is that like we're just three dudes. We're just three nerds. Like we don't know anything about how game companies should do or shouldn't do. All we are consumers in this spinning cycle of the game industry and its fans. So it's I mean just to point that out there, but at the same time
I, I
we
think I think the biggest thing that we want to the message we want to get is people just chill.
yeah.
Just relax, ride the wave. Don't worry about things so much. Worry about your own life, your own personal problems, and stop worrying so much about what the game industry is doing. Because if they fuck themselves over, then it's their problem, and something good will come out of it, something bad will come out of it. You just have to live with it and move on.
That's yeah.
Move on.
Just chill.
Yeah,
I
and
hate to,
I
I hate
have
to
a
sound
quick
like a hip.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, with the whole idea of removing the whole used game market, do you think as I'm not gonna say like a factor into that's just not it, but as a byproduct, there we go. That was what I was looking for. So as a byproduct of them basically saying that pre-owned games are no more, do you think that it would end up reducing the price of new games? Because if you're getting rid of that whole markets and just trying, I guess you can sort of look at it that pre-owned games with them being around, it's made game developers have to jack up their prices. So by the elimination of that, would we be looking at a potential decrease in overall game
What?
prices?
I or let me go first, Greg.
Go ahead.
It's just a sort of like an afterthought that came along with that.
right,
That's
right.
a great question.
It,
It's a great question because
it
because
is.
there's no direct answer to that either. So
Yeah, it is. It's a great question, but what I can tell you is that in my opinion, the answer would be no because the cost of making a game is stupid expensive as it is already right now. It takes so much money and resources to make a AAA game compared to
Yeah, I'm
somebody
just saying that like over time,
over time. No,
like if they implement that and then say maybe a couple years down the road that we might see a small decrease of like hell even maybe $5.
no, I can't see it because like look because like I remember back when games cost only $40 back when PS1 was out, and the games for that were like $40, and we were all fine with that. And then it's steadily increasing more and more. I mean, if I can go even further than that, when the Neo Geo came out and when the games they came out with, even though there weren't that many, they were costing up to $80 to $100 a game, and it was an insane amount. And given that was a different time era, but what my point I'm trying to come across is that the every year we're a bunch of people or a bunch of gamers who want something better, something that looks more awesome, something that looks faster, and it's a process of companies making the games that people want, um, at a faster rate, but also at a high quality rate, and getting better and better with graphics. And it will cost companies to spend a lot of money to make. So I can't really see it going down. I mean, I would love to have it go down. Like I would love to see prices go back down that are not
But
$60.
I mean, it's like the thought of that just came into mind by thinking that if you get rid of your competition, then what worry is there for you to continue raising your own costs in order to try and make up for potential losses?
Well,
Because the
and
whole pre-owned market, that's entirely dedicated to the game shops.
yeah,
You
like
know what
I
I
was
mean?
gonna say, like, I agree with you on that most part. And I think that like getting rid of like of a competition or getting rid of something that is competing with you should lower your prices because now you're getting more business because you're the only person in town. But the problem with monopolies is that they don't look at it in the fashion of now I can lower my prices because I don't have to deal with this competition because the first off a competition is going to make you want to lower your prices anyway so that people go, oh, okay, so that gas station across the street is 4 cents cheaper than that gas station on the other side of the street. That whole thing, the only reason that they lower their prices in that regard is to get more people to come to their gas station. However, when you don't have anyone in town, when you don't have any competition, you can actually hike up your prices, especially if your product is in demand. um Now, with the ESRB and whatnot, I think it's the ESRB. I could be wrong on what I'm quoting there, but they're not going to sit there and say that a competition with used games or whatever is big enough to them to lower prices. Um, don't
I
get
mean,
me
because
wrong.
even then, people still choose to buy new over pre-owned for various reasons.
Right, that's the point that I was making earlier with the whole piracy thing. Is like people there are more people that buy new than used. Period. I mean, this is why GameStop has come out and is like, we're kind of losing money. They're not hemorrhaging money, but they're definitely losing money because there are more people that want to buy new, which they don't get any money for new. When I worked at Walmart a long time ago, they pushed us to sell the shitty accessories that we sold that we had there because that's how we made money on video games and electronics was the accessories that just the bullshit shitty accessories that we would sell. The TVs that we would sell, the video games, the movies, all that kind of stuff, we never made a dime off of it because they were a set price that the distribution company or that the whoever was selling it to us wanted to, like basically every time we would buy one of those things, the company would buy one of those things and then we'd sell it, we evened out. The idea was that if somebody came in and goes, I want this TV, we go, okay, how about this HDMI cable? Oh, you can buy this like shitty fucking Blu-ray player that we sell over here, and you can get a couple of these, Blu-ray movies. But don't forget that you can also get like a new remote control that works with this whole thing. Like that's what we were supposed to do. And so we're selling all this extra shit on top of the stuff that we're evening it out on, so that way the entire purchase is a positive for us. And that's how they're also going to look at selling games to people that oh, okay, they can't buy used games anymore, so they have to buy new games.
Yeah.
But here's another huge problem with the whole like getting rid of used games. Where do you guys buy most of your games right now?
I buy from
Online.
GameStop.
I buy my stuff online on Amazon or on whatever I can find.
If you don't buy it online,
Oh, if I
where do you
don't
buy
buy
it?
online, off GameStop or Best Buy.
Right.
Yeah, for me,
Games
I
that
buy at the GameStop. That's like right by the theater by my house. And
I don't think I've bought a game like the last game that I bought that wasn't GameStop was Transformers War for Cybertron,
Mm-hmm.
and that was at Walmart. And the only reason I bought it was because I happened to be there and literally was just looking through the case and I was like, oh, I really want to play that game, and I have the money, I'm just gonna buy it. Other than that, like, because here's the thing is that Best Buy does pre-orders. Like, you can go in there and be like, I want to buy this game, but the problem with their system is that you can't go in there, pre-order it, and then go in there before the game even comes out and pay off the whole thing. So that way, when the full game comes out, you can just go pick it up. They don't do that, whereas GameStop does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or EB Games or whoever else is like on the West Coast or whatever, or East Coast. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just so for these companies to sit there and give a middle finger to the businesses that are getting them a lot of their new game sales is mind blowing to me. And here's the thing. I don't think I honestly don't see companies doing this. The whole reason we started this conversation was basically because we wanted to know what we thought the companies were doing. I honestly do not think that these companies are going to do systems that are not backwards compatible, that are a download only, that don't have a disc system, so that way you can't buy used games for them. I don't think the companies are going to do that, because the second that they do that, there's going to be people that don't want to buy their system.
Mm-hmm.
If you sit there and tell me we have a new system, there's still games coming out for the Xbox 360, but our new Xbox, our Xbox 720, doesn't have a disc drive. So you have to buy brand new games on it online only. First off, doing online only is a really dumb idea, because there's still a lot of gamers out there that don't have internet.
Yes.
And then their solution to that is, buy the download from GameStop, and then they'll print out a code on the receipts. I've seen it done several times before, and
But
that's
even
what
then,
they do with a lot of their download contents.
Agreed, but even then, and this is a point that I like to make too, is that if somebody buys the new Xbox 720 and it's a download-only console, they don't have internet at all. They go to GameStop and they go, I want to buy a game, and they go, well, you have to still, like, we'll give you a code so that way you can download it, but you still have to download it. It's not just like a thing where you get like a USB drive and you install.
Yeah. That's forgot about that part.
Yeah.
I mean, if they
I don't know
sold
why I
US
just had a brain fart moment and forgot. Oh yeah, that's right. You mentioned no internet.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Like, unless they started selling, like I said, USB drives that were like 8 gigabytes in size, and that you would just plug in and it would install onto your console, and then you take the USB drive back and they, repurpose it, like, fine, whatever. But that seems like more of a hassle than just do discs. Like, it honestly fiscally doesn't make any sense for them to come out with a console that is download only.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
Yeah. I mean,
And I don't think download sales are high enough for them to sit there and go, yeah, download only console makes sense.
yeah. I mean, like, unless you're like Valve or Blizzard, then you can do downloads and not you guys be fine. I do think though, as like used games in general, I do believe that they're just another way of getting your game out there and having more people play the game, rather than people who buy the game, but you're cutting off another section of people who can't afford it at the time. Same thing with the whole piracy thing. Like, in general, the message in this is like, if you get more people to play your game, the better. The more fans you get, the more people, the more attention. It's a win-win either way. It's just people in the video game industry believe that piracy is really cutting off their profits when it really isn't. So, yeah. Oh yes. So yeah. Thanks again, guys, for joining me for this second part of this podcast.
I always love having discussions with you guys.
Oh yeah, same here.
It's a fun way to just sort of vent and just talk about all this.
Well, being opinionated people as we are, we have to get these monkeys off our chest somehow.
Yeah, we have to get it off our chest, even if it is just street tits. Oh, did I say that?
Oh dear, you said titties.
Now
we're gonna be fucking censored. Thanks.
It's
loud.
It's already explicit to begin with. So, I cannot talk today. Oh man. Okay. Gregg, tell us where they can find you on the internet.
A few places you can find me on the internet. You can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at ChubRuckGeek. Actually, on Tumblr, if you no, you'll find me at it's Tumblr dot. I think it. Hold on, let me double check. So Twitter is at ChubRuckGeek. You can follow me at ChubRuckGeek. I am on. If you go to Facebook and go to A Geek Losing It, you can find my blog there. I'm also occasionally on Artistic Alliance's main podcast, the Freaking Awesome Podcast. I host my own podcast on the same website called The Overtime, and that podcast is very similar to this one, except it's much quicker. It's not as long of a discussion. But you can check that podcast out there. I also do interviews of cosplayers and voice actors. I've only done 2 technically, but they're on there.
Or you can add a third.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm
can?
just saying that. It's just that a few of the guys here at MSP, we do know a handful of cosplayers. So if you're looking for an additional person to interview, I mean, you can always ask one of us,
Oh.
and we can
Oh,
just
yeah,
add
absolutely.
more content to you.
Well, the cosplayers are always a lot of fun to interview. Like I've done it for I think I have because I did cosplayers at a convention in Sacramento not so long ago, Decepticon. Then I did one at Sac Anime, Summer Sac Anime, and then a little bit at Winter Sac Anime.
Ah.
So and cosplayers are always fun to interview because I love catching them off guard and going like, "Can I interview you real quick?" And they're just like, yeah." And
Awkward silence for like a minute, and they're like, okay.
yeah, because I have a dinky little microphone in my hand, and there's no camera, so they're just kind of like, "Why are you I love the look of like, why are you interviewing cosplayers without and I have to explain to them afterwards like, I'm only interviewing you because you are a cosplayer, not because I'm interviewing what you're cosplaying as.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather get your opinion on cosplaying in general. So what I do want to do eventually one day is have an actual camera when I interview them, so people can see the costume. So.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Was there any?
Oh, and
Was there any?
the Tumblr is chubrockgeek.tumblr.com.
Cool. Awesome. Kris, where can I find you on the internet?
Well, of course, I have my own Facebook page, and I'm pretty sure that anyone who listens to our podcast can easily find me through there. As mentioned in the first half of our segment, I did create a friendable account for my own cosplay page under the name Kaz Cosplay, Kaz space cosplay. I found out that it worked out as much of an approach. And again, I would like to thank Sean for tipping me off on that. And of course, I'm always more than willing to offer what help I can to other costumers, and hopefully receive some tips from them as well for the various different aspects of cosplaying. Other than that, you can find my writing on Mission Start Podcast. I typically write in our review section, but every now and then I'll make a staff blog mention. And with some recent content that's sort of been coming to me, I am moderating an additional section that's held off towards the end of the site, our guilty pleasure section. There was a lot of flack that sort of came over us because of that, but I mean, to a degree, I mean, I've seen everything that like all the reviews that we have set up. The entire section is kept very clean, very tame, and honestly, I would say that you could agree that it's a PG level.
Yeah,
Anthony?
it definitely is. Actually, you did a great job in actually making it tamed, but also you still gave your opinion on the stuff you put on there.
I mean, because covering that material, I know that it's a very, very fine line to walk across, and it just takes one little slip up, to go from being tame to being considered smut. And I just want to show that it is possible to go over this sort of material and still keep it clean. And as a policy from that, I'm making sure that there's no way that we are directly related to giving anyone access to the material. That's left up to them should they choose to do, look it up after a review has been made
Definitely,
of it.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And you can find me on
Sweet, we got a song for a minute. That was
yeah.
nice.
I was serenading both of you at the same time.
My panties are wet. I mean, you could drown a small child in them
Oh
right
yeah.
now.
This makes me moist.
You can find me on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can find me and Kris on our website, missionstartpodcast.com. You can find us on YouTube, Mission Start Podcast 1. You can find us on iTunes for this podcast. Also, check out the other podcast we just started recently called The Conover. We have both feeds on our website, or you just check them out on iTunes. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mission Start Podcast. We have a Twitter for our website. It is at Mission Start P. We have a live stream account. It keeps going and going. You can find us on live stream. Just look up Mission Start Podcast, and we tend to, go back and forth on there, playing games and doing other random stuff that we tend to do. It still needs to be experimented with more, but it's a cool thing to have. And I think that's it as far as like, am I missing something, Kris, or is that all the stuff that we're out for?
Uh, yeah, honestly, that's the only thing I can think
Okay,
of.
that's cool. Yeah, so check us out, guys. Oh, I want to give a shout out, thanks to the guys over at Too Lazy to Be Otaku podcast who had me on yesterday. Had a great time. A lot of random stuff happened, but it was cool. But yeah, just thanks for letting me be on your podcast, guys. Anyways, for me, Kris, and myself, we are signing off, and we will see you next time. Later, y'all.